Imagine you're standing in this totally sterile, chrome-filled luxury apartment.
It's completely spotless, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spotless. But a 27-year-old student has literally just fallen 3 floors to his death, tumbling out of a sash window right in front of your eyes.
Oh, wow. That is, I mean, that's just horrific.
Right.
Yeah.
And you are holding this cream-colored envelope, and it contains a typed letter that basically proves he was about to steal your life's work.
Just erasing your name completely.
Completely erasing your name from this $500,000 mathematical discovery. So the clock is ticking, the body is outside.
Yeah.
Do you pull out your phone and dial 911, or do you, quietly walk to the sink, wash your coffee cup, wipe down your fingerprints, and just walk away?
Well, today we're dissecting the exact anatomy of a cover-up. We're treating the protagonist of our source material, Anna Sanchez, as a real-world case study.
Yeah, a case study in, systemic workplace toxicity,
Yeah.
right? And the brutal mechanics of academic intellectual property.
Exactly. And, the neurobiology of a catastrophic crisis response. Because it's this profound exploration of what happens when two different types of desperation violently collide.
Like a macro, micro level of desperation.
Yeah, exactly. On a macro level, you have institutional desperation. A university that's just financially hemorrhaging and culturally regressing.
Right.
And then on a micro level, you have individual desperation, like a person pushed to the absolute margins of their career who will do literally anything to secure their legacy.
We aren't just looking at a bad morning here. We are analyzing the structural failures that make a bad morning fatal. Okay, let's unpack this.
We really have to start with the baseline environment Anna is operating in. Because if we don't understand the pressure cooker she's in, her later decisions just look like, pure madness.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, on paper, Anna is holding it together. She's a math professor at Locke-Wideman University.
Right, and her home life is chaotic, but she entirely manages it.
Yeah, we get this highly textured picture of her morning. Her artist husband, Louis, is just sleeping in this calm, smiling Buddha.
Typical, right.
Right. And she's up at dawn, she's packing school lunches, hunting down lost soccer cleats for her son, Maddie.
Navigating her teenage daughter Carla's emotional minefields.
Exactly. And even scratching the belly of their French bulldog, Roxy. She is the structural integrity of that household.
She really is. But the second she steps onto the university campus, that illusion of control just evaporates.
It's gone. Because Locke-Wideman isn't some academic haven. It's basically a sinking submarine.
Yeah. And the faculty members are quietly stealing each other's oxygen tanks, basically. That is the exact dynamic of a financially compromised institution.
Because they blew the endowment, right?
Yes. Locke-Wideman is drowning. Their investment advisors severely mismanaged the endowment. So now the university is totally dependent on philanthropic bailouts just to keep the lights on.
Wow, that's a toxic foundation.
It is. When an organization's survival is threatened on a balance sheet level, the culture rapidly deteriorates. Long-term strategic thinking gets replaced by short-term survival tactics.
So loyalty becomes a liability.
Exactly. In that ruthlessly transactional environment, you have someone like Anna, who's operating under what organizational psychologists call the competence trap.
Oh, the competence trap. Yes. Because she actually calls herself a rallier, doesn't she?
She does. She literally thinks, I rally when the going gets tough.
Right. She volunteers to organize alumni fundraising dinners. She's trying to be this ultimate team player. But it's not a ladder she's climbing. It's a treadmill.
That's a great way to put it. The competence trap happens when an employee becomes so highly functional and dependable in their current undervalued role that leadership actively prevents them from advancing.
Because promoting them means losing the person who does all the grunt work.
Precisely. Promoting them would mean losing the person who quietly maintains the foundation of the building. And we see this explicitly with Jeff, her department chair.
Jeff.
Right. During a critical faculty meeting, Jeff doesn't ask Anna for her visionary input on the curriculum. He asks her to take the minutes.
And he says she's the only one he trusts to do it right, which is such a manipulation tactic. Think about your own workplace for a second. Who takes the notes in your meetings?
Exactly.
Who organizes the office birthdays or the farewell cards? If it's you, are you being rewarded for it, or are you just making yourself conveniently subservient?
Yeah, Anna has become the IT support and the administrative janitor of the math department. And that is the insidious nature of invisible labor.
It's essential for the room to function, but it's career suicide.
Yes, it is actively detrimental to the career of the person performing it. Taking minutes does not secure a tenure-track promotion.
No, it doesn't get peer-reviewed.
Right. It positions Anna as an administrative assistant rather than an intellectual heavyweight.
Yeah.
And Jeff weaponizes this
He
dependability.
just drains her bandwidth with all these institutional maintenance tasks.
So she can't focus on the research that would actually force him to promote her.
And because Jeff trapped her in that administrative hell, we see the immediate consequence, which is the promotion snub.
Oh, that scene is brutal.
It is. Anna has been bending over backwards, sacrificing her own research time, fully expecting to be awarded the single available full professorship position.
Right, and instead the promotion goes to Mila, a 26-year-old associate professor.
26. And the way Anna finds out is just a brutal lesson in office politics. Jeff, the manager, completely cowards out and doesn't even tell her. Mila tells her.
And Mila's approach is highly calculated.
Yeah.
She walks into Anna's office, projecting this aura of deep empathy.
Oh, the fake empathy is the worst.
She says things like, "You'd think the more senior person would get it first. I would have bet anything on you."
Ugh.
She is not consoling Anna. She is consolidating her newly acquired power.
Yes. By feigning guilt, she forces Anna into a corner where Anna must socially validate Mila's promotion to avoid looking bitter.
Exactly. It's a hostage situation disguised as a coffee chat. Mila is effectively saying, "I won, you lost. Now verbally confirm that I deserved it so I don't have to feel uncomfortable about leaping over you."
And Anna just smiles and takes it. She literally says, "I couldn't be happier for you." Why does she do that?
No,
Because if it were me, I'd simply say, "Actually, I'm pretty devastated by leadership's decision. Please close the door on your way out." Why keep up the performance?
because Anna is playing a completely different game in her head.
Yeah.
She is passively accepting this public humiliation because she believes she holds a massive structural advantage that no one else knows about.
Right, her secret leverage.
Yeah, she believes she doesn't need to fight a skirmish over a departmental promotion because she is preparing to drop a nuclear bomb on the entire academic field. She views the promotion as irrelevant.
Okay, she's holding on to this leverage, but before we explore what that is, we have to look at the bra strap incident, because this really illuminates the depths of her psychological compromise.
It's a very disturbing moment.
It is. So Anna is in an empty room, cleaning a whiteboard again, more invisible labor, and she's feeling insecure because Mila had been wearing this trendy top earlier.
Right, and Anna's just wearing a plain white bra under her shirt.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Jeff, the department chair, walks up behind her, physically reaches out, touches her shoulder, and adjusts her clothing to hide her bra strap.
And then he says, "Fixed it," and winks.
Well, I mean, my jaw dropped.
In any corporate environment, physical touch, especially adjusting a subordinate's undergarments, is a profound assertion of dominance.
It's a massive boundary violation.
It communicates, I have the authority to invade your personal physical space, and you lack the institutional power to stop me.
Wait, I have to jump in here because the boundary violation is obvious, but Anna's reaction is what genuinely terrifies me.
So,
She is shocked, sure, but she also feels a little flattered. I don't buy that at all. If my boss walked up behind me in an empty room and adjusted my clothing, I wouldn't feel a warm glow of validation. I'd be dialing HR immediately.
well, you have to look at the mechanism of her starvation.
Starvation.
Yes, Anna is starved for oxygen in this environment. She has been denied professional validation, she has been stripped of her seniority by Mila, and she is drowning in menial tasks.
Right, so she's desperate.
Exactly. When someone is systematically deprived of worth, they will grasp at any form of attention, even if that attention is toxic and inappropriate.
Wow. So Jeff's gesture, however predatory, just makes her feel temporarily seen by the power structure.
Yes, it is a tragic coping mechanism.
And that need to cope through, like, alternate realities shows up again almost immediately with June, the secretary.
A hallway scene.
Yeah, the associate dean, this notorious bully named Clyde, verbally abuses June right in the hallway, calling her stupid.
It's awful.
It is. And Anna leans over to June and tells her to imagine that Clyde has a penis enlargement pump hidden in his desk right underneath his paper clips.
She completely invents this absurd scenario just to make June laugh.
Which is funny, but highly revealing, right? When reality is too toxic to process, Anna survives by creating a fictional narrative overlay.
Precisely. She relies on mental deflection. She writes a different story in her head to neutralize the threat in front of her.
But mental deflection only works on mundane office toxicity.
Right. It is completely insufficient for catastrophic crisis management. And that brings us to the nuclear option she has been banking on.
The big secret.
Yes. Because she cannot climb the ladder normally, she needs a product so undeniably valuable that it forces the university and the global academic community to bow to her.
Enter the intellectual property race. Imagine you are banking your entire escape route from this sinking submarine on one single project.
And the person holding the keys to that project is entirely unhinged.
Exactly. That is Anna's reality with her PhD student, Alex.
Alex is 27, a brilliant but severely obsessive mathematician who sought Anna out specifically to be his advisor.
And he was supposed to be working on theta and zeta functions, right? But in secret, he pivoted to something much bigger.
The Pentystone conjecture.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, what exactly is the Pentystone conjecture?
Well, to grasp the gravity of it within this narrative, we have to contextualize it within the real-world history of high-stakes mathematics. The Pentystone is an unsolved problem from 1905.
Proposed by a mother-daughter duo, right?
Yes, Claudia Penty and Noemi Stone. A conjecture is essentially a mathematical proposition that appears to be true, but has never been rigorously proven.
And it's not just some fun puzzle for a blackboard. There is serious venture capital attached to it.
Huge money.
A billionaire futurist named Leo Forrester resurrected this 1905 conjecture and attached a $500,000 prize to whoever can definitively prove or disprove it.
Which is astronomical. If we benchmark that against reality, the actual Millennium Prize problems in mathematics are worth $1 million each.
So $500,000 is a massive bounty. Solving the Pentystone would theoretically revolutionize computing architecture and aerospace engineering.
It guarantees a blank check.
Ah.
But for Anna, the stakes are not merely financial or professional, they are deeply psychological.
Right, her backstory with this thing is crazy.
We learn that when Anna was 14 years old, she snuck out to a party. Her mother, who was a cold, austere, uncompromising scientist, discovered this.
And her punishment was wild.
Yeah, as a punishment, her mother forced young Anna to spend her entire summer vacation trying to solve the Pentystone conjecture.
Her mother literally weaponized an impossible mathematical problem to isolate her daughter and assert control.
It is the ultimate symbol of her mother's conditional love.
So when Alex drops a spiral notebook on Anna's desk and whispers that he has a viable angle on the Pentystone, Anna isn't just looking at a ticket to an R1 tenure track at MIT.
No, she is looking at finally conquering the childhood demon that her mother used to oppress her. It is the perfect psychological bait.
But the pursuit of this proof requires absolute secrecy. Alex understands the cutthroat nature of academic publishing.
Oh, he's terrified of it.
Yeah.
He knows that if word leaks that he is close to a viable proof, rival mathematicians with far more resources could steal his angle.
They'd just brute force the remaining calculations and publish first.
Exactly. And this fear mutates into severe clinical paranoia. He refuses to use computers.
Not at all.
Zero. He is convinced his keystrokes are being logged and his networks are being hacked. So he retreats entirely to analog data.
Right. He writes his equations by hand in spiral notebooks and locks them in a filing cabinet drawer in Anna's office.
He is essentially keeping the nuclear launch codes written in pencil on loose-leaf paper.
From an information security standpoint, that is a nightmare. By trying to avoid digital theft, he creates a massive single point of failure.
Yes. You can't back up a spiral notebook to the cloud.
Exactly. It can be dropped in a puddle, it can be stolen, it can be burned.
It is a critical flaw in his systems engineering.
Yeah.
And as his data security becomes more archaic, his physical biology begins to collapse.
Oh, he deteriorates so fast.
The paranoia isolates him. He stops attending classes. He stops eating. He stops sleeping. He's consumed by the cognitive load of holding the entire framework of the conjecture in his deteriorating mind.
But then, the bottleneck breaks. Alex hits a wall in his calculations, and Anna has this sudden flash of insight in the middle of the night.
She figures out the missing piece.
Right. She tiptoes downstairs in the dark, calls him at midnight, and provides the missing theoretical bridge. 2 days later, using her missing puzzle piece, he cracks the century-old conjecture.
And they agree to co-author the groundbreaking paper. His name goes first, as is his thesis, but her name sits right alongside it.
Which introduces this fiercely debated ethical dilemma regarding intellectual ownership in academia, right?
Absolutely. Let's look at the historical precedent of Rosalind Franklin, whose critical X-ray diffraction images were used by Watson and Crick to discover the DNA double helix.
But she was largely sidelined in the immediate glory.
Exactly. Who owns a discovery? If a student spends months agonizing over 90% of the foundational labor, but the advisor provides the single crucial spark plug that makes the engine turn over.
How is the equity distributed? It's the classic IP battle.
Does the person who built the car own it, or the person who provided the spark plug?
And Alex clearly begins to believe he owns the whole car. He views Anna's contribution not as a partnership, but as a minor consultation that doesn't warrant a 50% equity stake.
And he decides to act on that belief. This decision initiates a sequence of events that serves as a master study in catastrophic crisis management.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. It starts before 6:00 a.m., right? Anna's phone rings. It's Alex.
He is frantic, demanding that she bring all of the physical notebooks from her office to his apartment immediately.
When Anna arrives at his apartment complex, the physical reality of the situation hits her.
The contrast is jarring.
It really is. The apartment itself is this pristine, showroom-quality luxury space, entirely funded by Alex's wealthy parents. It's full of glass, chrome, and minimalist furniture.
But Alex is a haunting juxtaposition against that environment.
He is shirtless, his skin is pale to the point of looking translucent, his pupils are massively dilated, his nose is bleeding, his fingernails are filthy, and he is physically spitting when he speaks.
He is exhibiting the classic, undeniable symptoms of amphetamine psychosis. To sustain the extreme cognitive endurance required to solve the proof, he has clearly been abusing stimulants.
And the resulting sleep deprivation has triggered a severe psychotic break.
His reality testing is completely fractured.
And in the middle of this paranoid delusion, he drops the bomb. He hands Anna a thick, cream-colored envelope.
Inside is a formally typed letter stating that he is submitting the thesis and the research paper to the Journal of Applied Number Theory entirely alone.
He is officially removing her as a co-author, claiming in print that including her name would lend her contribution more weight than is warranted.
If we strip away the drug-induced mania for a moment and view this purely through the lens of corporate strategy, Alex is executing a classic hostile squeeze-out. He's cutting out the minority partner right before the product goes to market to hoard 100% of the intellectual equity.
And the subsequent financial and reputational rewards.
Exactly. He knows the product is finished. He has calculated that Anna's residual value to him is 0, so he terminates the partnership.
It is so ruthless. And this is where the narrative shifts from a workplace drama to a high-stakes psychological thriller. Because Anna doesn't scream.
No, she doesn't.
She doesn't immediately threaten a lawsuit. She looks at him, sees the psychosis, and tries to de-escalate.
She realizes he is terrified of her.
Yeah, he is backing away toward the open sash window, claiming she needs to stay away from him. And she steps forward slowly, extending her hand, simply saying, "I'm not going to hurt you."
But in his state of amphetamine-induced paranoia, a calmly extended hand is interpreted as a lethal threat.
He isn't seeing an academic advisor.
Right, he is seeing an invisible monster coming to steal his life's work. In a blind panic, he climbs backward out of the open window, sits astride the sill, slips on the slick surface, and falls.
There is no scream. Gravity just takes him.
It's terrifyingly fast.
Anna rushes to the window, looks down 3 floors, and sees his body impaled on a piece of jagged metal behind a commercial dumpster. He is undeniably dead.
Just a horrific image.
Now here's where I have to stop and challenge the narrative. Any rational human being in this scenario screams for help. You call 911.
Usually, yes.
You call an ambulance. Even if it is blatantly obvious that the person is deceased, you call the authorities and you say, "My student was having a psychotic break. He panicked and he fell."
Right.
Why does she immediately decide to cover it up? She's a mathematician. Logic is her brand.
Well, logic requires blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. And in that exact moment, Anna's prefrontal cortex is offline.
Okay, explain that.
She is experiencing what neurobiologists call an amygdala hijack. When the human brain encounters an extreme, sudden existential threat, the amygdala, the brain's fear and survival center, floods the nervous system with cortisol and adrenaline.
So it completely bypasses the logical processing centers?
Completely. The brain stops asking, what is the socially correct procedure, and exclusively asks, what is the most immediate threat to my survival?
So she looks at the dead body, but her brain doesn't register a medical emergency. It registers a legal trap.
Precisely. She looks at the cream-colored letter in her hand and runs a hyperspeed threat analysis.
She realizes this letter establishes a flawless textbook motive for murder.
Exactly. She projects the scenario forward. She imagines the police arriving. They will find a highly stressed, underappreciated professor.
Right.
They will find a student who just legally severed her from $1 million discovery. They will see the site of a physical confrontation in an otherwise empty apartment.
And a dead body at the bottom of the window.
In her hijacked state, she concludes with absolute certainty that the justice system will brand her a killer. She even hallucinates her austere mother clicking her tongue in disappointment.
Wow. The cognitive leap is massive. But under the influence of those survival hormones, it feels like cold, hard, inescapable logic.
She doesn't have time to autopsy his mental state or debate the ethics of her involvement. She immediately pivots into full cover-up mode.
And the mechanics of this cover-up are fascinating because they require a level of cognitive dissonance that is terrifying to witness. She doesn't just run away, she sanitizes the environment.
Let's break down the exact sequence of her actions. First, her phone rings in her bag.
Oh, the bag Lewis jokingly calls the giant mushroom because it's impossible to find anything inside it.
Yes, that bag. She ignores the call. Her hands go to work on the physical evidence. She takes the coffee cup she'd been holding, walks to the sink, washes it thoroughly, and dries it meticulously with a tea towel.
To ensure no fingerprints or DNA are left behind.
Right. She crumples the betrayal letter and shoves it deep into her pocket. She sneaks out of the apartment building unseen, gets into her car, and aggressively stuffs a beanie into the glove compartment.
And then she drives back to the university, parks her car, and stands by a trash can near the elevator. She takes the cream-colored letter and rips it into tiny, microscopic pieces, throwing it away.
And then, and this is the part that proves how terrifyingly adaptive the human brain is, she walks into a lecture hall and teaches a math class.
It's insane. She stands in front of a room of freshmen and performs her job on autopilot.
There's a student in the front row, Melanie, who is aggressively chewing gum, putting her leg up on the desk, scoffing at the lesson.
Normally, Anna would reprimand her, right?
Yeah, but today, Anna just floats through the disrespect like a ghost. We are witnessing the mechanism of severe dissociation.
Because to survive the environmental demand of standing in front of 50 students, her brain builds temporary neural firewalls.
It takes the traumatic imagery of the morning, the blood, the impalement, the dumpster, and locks it in a psychological vault.
She compartmentalizes the trauma so she can execute the mathematical formulas on the whiteboard.
But the body keeps the score. The physiological toll of maintaining those firewalls is immense.
Yeah. Later, she throws away her completely untouched tuna and egg salad sandwich because her stomach is in knots.
Every single time she hears muffled voices or footsteps in the university hallway, her heart rate spikes.
Because she assumes it's the police arriving with handcuffs.
She is trapped in a self-made panopticon. And this leads to arguably the most chilling behavioral performance in the entire narrative.
You mean when June breaks the news?
Yes. The news of Alex's death finally reaches the department. June, the secretary, pulls Anna into an office, closes the door, and through tears, breaks the news that Alex committed suicide.
And Anna has to react to a death she literally witnessed hours ago. And what does she do? She utilizes an acting trick.
It's so calculated.
She physically places her hand over her chest, widens her eyes, and mimics a specific shocked facial expression that she watched her 13-year-old daughter, Carla, practice the night before for a drama class.
She plagiarizes her child's acting homework to perform grief for her dead student. It is a profound demonstration of emotional detachment.
Anna is performing empathy in the exact same way Mila performed empathy regarding the promotion snub.
Exactly. But the dark irony of this scene is that June, the administrative assistant who takes the phone calls, actually possessed vastly more accurate intelligence regarding Alex's mental state than Anna did.
That's right. June reveals to Anna that Alex had been calling the office, confessing his exhaustion, his manic episodes, and his desperate desire to just abandon the math, buy a boat, and go sailing.
Anne had absolutely no idea.
She was so hyper-focused on the data in the notebooks that she completely missed the human being deteriorating in front of her.
It proves that Anna viewed Alex strictly as a vehicle, a human calculator, to secure her own escape from Locke Weidman. She believed she was managing him, but she was merely exploiting him.
Replicating the exact dynamic of exploitation that Jeff inflicts upon her.
Yes. This raises an important question. If Alex is dead, and the digital footprint is non-existent because he refused to use computers, what happens to the Pentystone proof?
Oh. The analog data vulnerability suddenly works in her favor. If she possesses the only physical spiral notebooks containing the solution, she effectively controls the intellectual property again.
The leverage is back in her hands.
It is. But her control is built on an incredibly fragile foundation of panic-driven decisions. She believes she executed a clean getaway because she washed a coffee cup and ripped up a piece of paper.
But she is entirely ignoring modern digital forensics.
She forgot the cell towers.
Precisely. Alex called her from his apartment before 6 a.m. Her phone pinged the towers near his luxury apartment complex at the exact time of his fatal fall.
Wow. Wow.
She sneaked out of the building without being seen by a neighbor, which is a stroke of statistical luck. But she has completely forgotten that her pocket computer has been tracking her geolocation the entire time.
Because panic has severely compromised her analytical foresight.
Exactly.
So we have a protagonist who is deeply compromised. I mean, she didn't push him, but by sanitizing the scene and obstructing the investigation to protect her own asset, she has crossed a massive moral threshold.
And when you cross that line, your perception of reality begins to warp. You start looking for deception everywhere because you are drowning in it yourself.
Right. Which brings us to the second betrayal of the day, the domestic front.
Because Anna's professional life has become a radioactive hazard zone, she desperately requires her personal life to serve as a secure baseline.
She's carrying a catastrophic secret, and she just wants the grounding comfort of her husband.
Yeah, she tries to call Louis, but it goes straight to voicemail. That morning, Louis had told her he was under the gun with a tight deadline for an upcoming gallery exhibition.
Claiming he would be working late and into the night at his art studio.
So seeking solace, Anna drives across town to his studio.
And the visual environment of the studio is crucial. It's an old industrial warehouse space, right? Exposed brick, soaring ceilings, heavy cargo lifts, welded iron hooks.
It is raw, gritty, and utilitarian.
In the center of the room sits Luis's current project, a massive, chaotic bird's nest sculpture constructed from fake feathers and recycled plastic, with bizarre creatures emerging from eggs.
It's a space dedicated to messy, isolated creation.
But when Anna lets herself in using a hidden spare key she keeps on her keychain, the space is pitch black. The studio is entirely empty.
Louis is not there, and it appears he hasn't been there all evening.
Right. And as she navigates through the darkness and the messy art supplies, she discovers items that aggressively contradict the environment.
The ceramics.
Yes. Sitting right there in the gritty workspace, she finds two elegant, delicate wine glasses drying upside down in a rack.
Beside them are two pretty, matching blue and white ceramic bowls and a set of sand-colored goblet-shaped cups.
Which violently clashes with everything we know about Louis's aesthetic. This is a guy who drinks his morning coffee out of a chipped Cleveland Browns mug and stores his art supplies in empty pickle jars.
He doesn't buy matching artisanal olive bowls for a dirty warehouse.
Exactly. Those homewares are physical artifacts of an intimate domestic intrusion into a solitary professional space.
They suggest a highly refined aesthetic presence. They imply that someone else has been inhabiting this space with him.
Sharing wine and snacks in his private sanctuary while he claimed to be working under a grueling deadline.
It screams infidelity. It's the classic hallmark of a hidden life.
And the tension truly snaps when Luis finally returns home later that night. He casually asks about her day, and then explicitly lies to her face.
He claims he was at the studio all night grinding away on the sculpture. He even fabricates a specific supporting detail, stating he got deli takeout delivered to the warehouse around 7:00 p.m.
And Anna knows for an absolute, undeniable fact that the studio was dark and empty.
This is where we see the psychological phenomenon of projection take hold. Anna is hypervigilant and furious about Louise's suspicious behavior, precisely because she has just executed a massive, life-altering deception herself.
She is projecting her own profound guilt onto his suspicious timeline.
Yes.
But she's trapped. What do you do when you catch your partner in a blatant, undeniable lie, but calling them out on it means risking your own alibi?
She can't say, "I know you're lying because I was at the studio."
Because if she admits she was driving around town instead of being at home, Luis might ask why she needed to see him so badly.
And that thread unravels the entire cover-up of Alex's death.
She is locked in a state of mutually assured deception.
She is experiencing severe gaslighting. Louis is feeding her a fabricated reality about his whereabouts, and Anna has no choice but to nod, smile, and accept the false reality.
Because she is currently feeding the police, her department chair, and her colleagues a fabricated reality about her proximity to a dead body.
Her entire world has collapsed in a 24-hour window. The institution she served passed her over. The student who held the key to her salvation betrayed her and died in front of her.
And the husband, who is supposed to be her emotional anchor, is clearly leading a secondary life with elegant wine glasses. She has a zero safe harbor.
She is completely isolated, operating entirely in a tactical survival state. Every single interaction moving forward, whether with detectives investigating a suspicious fall or a husband hiding his whereabouts, will require calculated deception. She has to play detective in her own marriage, while outsmarting the actual detectives looking into her professional life.
The pressure is unimaginable. It all connects back to the vulnerability of the systems they rely on, the analog notebooks, the invisible labor, the emotional firewalls. Everything is failing simultaneously.
Everything.
But I want to leave you with one final terrifying thought to chew on. We established deeply that Alex was clinically, obsessively paranoid about his intellectual property being stolen. Right.
Right. He refused to use digital networks. He believed people were constantly spying on him, trying to steal his mathematical proofs.
Exactly. So if a genius operating on amphetamines is that terrified of being watched and robbed in his own home,
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
is it not entirely possible that he set up hidden analog cameras inside his luxury apartment? Cameras that might have perfectly captured a certain math professor watching him fall to his death, quietly picking up a betrayal letter, wiping down a coffee cup, and sneaking out the door. Have you ever poured years of your life into someone else's success and then realized they've completely locked you out?
Oh, yeah. Where you build an empire for them, basically.
Exactly. Have you ever looked at a relationship, whether it's personal or professional, and realized you are entirely on the wrong side of the balance sheet?
It's a terrifying realization, honestly.
It really is. So today we are doing a deep dive into this devastating case study of a woman who realizes her entire life is, well, fundamentally a bad investment.
Right. We're looking at Anna. She's a researcher and professor.
Yeah, and we're starting right in the immediate aftermath of a massive tragedy. Her student, this brilliant mathematician named Alex, has just committed suicide.
Which is horrific.
Right. And when you look at the immediate aftermath of something like that, you expect the narrative to be dominated by grief. You know, you expect a certain emotional paralysis.
Sure. Shock, crying, the usual trauma response.
Exactly. But when we look at Anna's internal monologue while she is actually sitting there with the police, we are not looking at grief.
No, not at all. Yeah.
We are looking at a stark, cold audit of a liquidated asset.
It really is a chilling sequence. I mean, she is giving the police all the perfunctory expected answers.
Right, the stuff about his erratic behavior.
Yeah, his recent drug-like behavior, his sudden weight loss.
Yeah.
But inside her head, she's conducting this devastating cost-benefit analysis.
It's pure mathematics in her head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She realizes with just absolute clarity that she never actually liked him as a person.
Wow.
What she liked was her position as his savior. She liked the equity she felt she was building in his genius, you know?
Okay, wait, I actually look at that a bit differently.
Oh, how so?
It's not just that she liked being the savior, it's the ultimate sunk cost of mentorship.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Think about this in the context of your own career, right? Imagine you are a senior project manager.
Right.
You have poured thousands of uncompensated, grueling hours into developing a junior employee. You've shielded them from upper management. You've corrected that code.
You've basically built a piece of proprietary software through them.
Exactly. And then right before the launch, that lead developer literally burns the servers to the ground and walks away.
So she isn't mourning a human life at all.
No, Anna isn't mourning a life. She is mourning her lost return on investment.
That makes total sense.
She is completely consumed by this lingering toxic resentment over the fact that Alex formally fired her as his co-author right before his research was ready to be published.
Which, I mean, that's a stunning display of professional narcissism, yes.
Yeah.
But it also reveals the deeply transactional nature of her reality.
Totally.
We really have to look at the mechanics of high-level academia here. Because in this environment, human relationships are frequently utilized as proxies for professional capital.
Right. A brilliant graduate student is basically currency.
Exactly. Anna viewed Alex not as a human being in distress, but as a vehicle for her own advancement and ego validation.
And when he terminated their professional relationship, he stripped her of that vehicle.
Right. And his subsequent suicide merely finalized the transaction. It ensured she could never, ever recoup her investment.
It's a total zeroing out of her primary asset.
And that sets the stage for a cascading sequence of professional and personal bankruptcies. Because almost immediately after she realizes her investment in Alex is gone, her boss delivers the fatal blow.
Oh man, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff. He informally delivers the final blow to her own career trajectory.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the way Jeff handles this promotion denial is just, it's a masterclass in toxic workplace politics.
It's brutal.
He doesn't call her into a formal meeting. He doesn't provide a written evaluation or, a structured review of her KPIs.
No, of course not. That would be too professional.
Right. He waits until she is sitting at her desk, head in her hands, completely depleted from the police interview.
The absolute worst time.
And he casually hops onto the corner of her desk, offers her a beer, and then essentially tells her that the full professorship she had been grinding for went to someone else.
Right, it went to her colleague, Mila.
And she had taken on massive amounts of invisible, uncompensated support work to secure that promotion.
And to add insult to injury, Anna actually had to hear about it from Mila first.
Which, from an HR perspective, is a massive failure of management protocol.
Oh, entirely.
Yeah.
But Jeff's justification is where the real knife twists.
Yeah, what does he say? He tells her she lacks ambition, right?
Yes, he tells Anna she lacks ambition. And we really need to analyze exactly what Jeff means by that word in this specific institutional context.
Because it's a heavily coded term, isn't it?
Very coded. Jeff points out to Anna that Mila is chairing panels. Mila is tending symposiums.
Mila is presenting papers at international conferences.
Exactly. In corporate terms, Mila is doing the highly visible, forward-facing networking. She is engaging in active brand management.
While Anna is stuck in the background.
Right. Anna, conversely, is doing the structural maintenance. If we look at the mechanics of the department, Anna is one grading the papers.
She is the one supporting the volatile, high-maintenance students like Alex.
Yes, and handling the complex grant acquittals, these are the essential, load-bearing operational tasks that keep the department functioning day to day.
It's the classic corporate trap, and I'm sure anyone listening has seen this happen or maybe even experienced it yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
You make yourself so essential to the underlying infrastructure that you become entirely unpromotable.
Because if you leave your role, the whole system collapses.
Right. You are the one keeping the servers running, while the person taking the client out for martinis gets the corner office.
Institutions invariably reward visible networking over invisible utility. It's a sad reality.
Jeff has allowed Anna to function as this indispensable team player for months. He's actively exploiting her labor under the implied promise of a promotion.
Only to penalize her for not being up on the stage.
Precisely.
And this is the exact moment the scales fall from Anna's eyes. She thought she was the star of the show.
She thought her hard work and her raw intellect were the primary currency of her environment.
But instead, she realizes she is just the supporting act. She has been completely played.
By everyone.
Yes. She was played by her subordinate, Alex, who used her support structure and then cut her out of the IP.
And she was played by her superior, Jeff.
Right, who extracted her operational labor and then handed the equity to her rival, Mila. Her entire professional capital just suddenly bankrupt.
So what happens when a highly structured, rule-following person realizes the rules are a complete scam?
They usually snap.
Yeah, you abandon standard operating procedures. This realization of total systemic betrayal is crucial to understanding her next sequence of actions.
She has this real shift in her worldview here.
She actually has this explicit internal realization. She thinks, I never break the rules. Maybe that's why I never get what I want.
It's a dangerous epiphany.
Very. Driven by this sudden, profound career devaluation, she literally goes off the path. She follows Jeff across the campus lawn, stepping right on the manicured flowers.
Which seems small, but it's symbolic.
Exactly. It's a minor physical rule she's breaking, but it acts as a psychological prelude to breaking major behavioral ones.
Right, because then she crashes a law faculty retirement party.
Which is wild for her.
It's a highly uncharacteristic and reckless operational security error. Let's look at the variables she's introducing here.
Yep, let's break them down.
First, she is placing herself in an unfamiliar environment, the law faculty, which is not her own department.
Right.
Second, she is highly emotionally compromised. And third, she has unfettered access to alcohol.
A terrible combination.
When an individual realizes that playing by the rules of a formal structure actively results in exploitation, their adherence to those rules just disintegrates.
But the problem is she doesn't know how to break the rules.
Right. Exactly. Because she isn't used to operating without guardrails, she lacks the self-regulation to do it safely. It is a recipe for a catastrophic vulnerability leak.
And that leak happens almost immediately.
Yes, it does.
At the drinks table, Jeff completely abandons her to go network with the law professors, which, frankly, is entirely on brand for him.
Completely.
And left alone, she is approached by a complete stranger. A guy in his mid-30s, Irish, green eyes, short beard.
His name's Orion.
Right, Ryan. He's the IT guy, though she doesn't know that yet. Now, in any normal state of mind, Anna, the rigid, superior academic, would just brush him off in a second.
Well, she wouldn't even give him the time of day.
So her professional firewall is completely down. She enters what we can only call a critical venting phase.
It's a massive data dump.
She leaks highly sensitive, incredibly damaging workplace gossip to an unauthorized, unvetted third party.
It's hard to read, honestly.
She actually points right at Jeff across the room and whispers to this stranger that Jeff gave Mila the full professorship in exchange for sex.
I want to pause and emphasize what a staggering violation of corporate discretion that is.
It's huge.
It's a massive liability. She is openly accusing a department head of a severe Title IX violation, of quid pro quo sexual harassment, to a man whose identity she hasn't even bothered to verify.
Why does she do it?
What we are witnessing here is a classic textbook stress response. When the formal structures of your life betray you, you seek desperate validation from unauthorized outside sources.
So she just wants someone to agree with her.
She wants someone, anyone, to look at her, acknowledge her pain, and validate her victimhood. She even goes so far as to reveal that Jeff once propositioned her and she said no.
Oh, wow.
She is framing herself to this stranger as the ethical martyr who was punished for her integrity. She is literally crowdsourcing her self-esteem from a guy at a plastic folding table.
Okay, wait, I have to jump in here because I understand she's stressed, right?
Sure.
But taking it from venting at a plastic folding table to going into an empty, dark office down the hall, the risk profile just goes in completely through the roof.
The escalation is terrifyingly fast.
The physical escalation here is incredibly rapid. We are talking about a respected academic, a mother, a wife, and within minutes, she is in an empty office with this guy.
And they are fully crossing the line.
He's kissing her. He's unhooking her bra. They are seconds away from a massive life-altering compromise.
And they almost get caught.
The only reason it stops is because a woman, another staff member, walks into the office to use the space. Imagine the sheer, visceral panic of that moment.
Just absolute terror.
Put yourself in her shoes. You are standing half undressed in a dark office at your workplace, caught by a colleague. She physically runs away.
But she makes a huge mistake when she runs.
Yes, in her absolute haste and panic, she leaves behind critical, unmitigated physical evidence.
The digital footprint. This is where her lack of experience in rule-breaking really shows.
Right, the photo.
During their initial flirtation out at the party, Ryan took a photograph of her on his phone.
And she completely forgets about it.
In the absolute chaos of the near miss in the office, she forgets to demand its deletion. This is a foundational failure of crisis management.
You just can't do that.
You cannot, under any circumstances, leave a compromised digital asset in the hands of an unknown variable.
Especially an unknown variable who now knows you are willing to break the rule.
Exactly. And who knows incredibly damaging gossip about your department head.
So the next day, the adrenaline wears off, the panic sets in, and she realizes the scale of her exposure.
The hangover of reality.
Right. She tries to mitigate the threat. She tracks him down to his admin office to get him to delete the photo.
Which is a whole other tower struggle.
It is. And Ryan does show her the screen. He shows her he, quote-unquote, deleted it.
But we all know what that means.
Anyone who knows anything about modern devices knows a photo isn't truly deleted until it's wiped from the recently deleted folder and the cloud backup.
Right. It's still there.
But more importantly, the power dynamic has completely inverted. Well, she walks in there as a professor, talking to an IT admin, expecting to pull rank.
Oh, she thinks she can just boss him around.
Exactly. Instead, he treats her with this cocky, sneering disdain. He rolls his eyes at her. He calls her paranoid.
Wow.
And he casually demonstrates that he knows her full name.
He is establishing dominance.
Totally.
He is signaling to her that she does not control the perimeter anymore. He leaves this massive, unmitigated reputational threat looming right over her head.
It's a ticking time bomb.
She realizes she has handed a loaded weapon to a volatile, unpredictable variable. So let's look at the totality of her situation at this exact moment.
It's bad.
Her professional life is a complete disaster. Her subordinate is dead and took their shared work with him.
Her boss betrayed her.
And her security is compromised by a man who holds digital leverage over her.
So what's the play here? What does she do?
Well, when your professional capital is completely bankrupt and your operational security is breached, what do? You retreat to your safe harbor.
You go home.
You desperately need your domestic foundation to be absolutely rock solid.
But what if that safe harbor is built on sand?
Right, that's the tragedy.
So if her workplace is a lost cause, where does a person like Anna go to cash in her chips? She looks to her marriage.
Which transitions us perfectly to the Perry Cube Gallery.
Yes, the art exhibition for her husband, Louis. Let's talk about Louis for a second.
He's a very different type of person than Anna.
He really is. He is a sculptor who utilizes recycled plastics to create environmentally conscious art.
Very trendy.
He is fluid, emotional, public-facing, the exact opposite of Anna's rigid, mathematical, academic world.
Right.
Tonight is his premiere showing, centered around a massive, intricate piece called The Nest. And the exhibition isn't just a nice local show, it is a phenomenal, undeniable success.
The metrics of success are immediately apparent when you walk in.
Like the red dots.
Yes. Red dots are appearing on the placards next to every piece, indicating they've been sold. Serious, high-level art collectors are flying in from across the country to view his work.
So it's a huge deal.
The cultural capital in the room is enormous.
Yeah.
Now, traditionally, a supportive spouse would be thrilled.
Of course.
But Anna's reaction is pure dread.
Think about the startup founder analogy again, right?
I like this.
You've been grinding in the proverbial garage for a decade. You've balanced the books. You've kept the lights on.
Doing all the dirty work.
You've managed all the unglamorous logistics while your visionary partner built the product.
And then,
right as the company goes public and the bell rings on Wall Street, you realize you are being quietly pushed out of the C-suite.
ouch. Yeah.
That is exactly how Anna feels. She looks around at this elegant, wealthy, sophisticated crowd, and she realizes her own equity in this partnership has been heavily diluted.
She feels totally out of place.
She's standing there in an outfit she bought at a mall, and she explicitly notes that she feels like a life insurance salesperson among these people.
It's such a stark contrast.
She realizes that while she was managing the micro-logistics of their lives, making the school lunches, scheduling the ballet classes for their kids, literally washing dog poop off the porch, Louis has quietly, steadily chiseled his way into a massive, lucrative future.
A future where he is a star.
Exactly. A future where he might not actually need her anymore.
What we are observing here is the realization of the ambition gap, but this time manifested within her marriage.
It's the same pattern as her job.
Exactly. She sacrificed her own upward mobility, her own focused time for research, to be the logistical foundation for his career. And in doing so, she assumed she was making herself indispensable.
Because if she does everything, he can't leave her, right?
That's the flawed logic, yes.
Yeah.
Here is the critical psychological error she makes. Indispensability is not the same thing as desirability.
Wow, that's powerful.
Nor does it guarantee parity. A foundation is essential, but nobody looks at a skyscraper and praises the concrete slab it sits on.
No, they look at the glass and the design.
The psychological chasm truly opens when Luis stands up to give his speech to the gallery. He is glowing. He is charismatic.
He's soaking it all in.
He is holding the attention of every wealthy patron in the room. He looks out into the crowd with eyes full of pride and profound love.
But wait, he isn't looking at Anna, is he?
No, he's looking at Isabel.
Belle. Let's talk about Belle.
She's a major threat.
She is the young, beautiful, ethereal, millennial art curator who put the show together.
Of course she is.
Anna watches the sexual tension between Luis and Isabel hum across the room. It's palpable.
Everyone can probably feel it.
Isabel is standing there in this cascading, effortless silk ensemble, completely in her element, while Anna is suffocating under the weight of her own domestic sacrifices.
And this triggers an immediate tactical shift in Anna.
Does she confront him?
No, she doesn't break down and cry. She doesn't confront him in front of the crowd. She launches a covert intelligence gathering operation.
Which is so Anna.
The transition from passive observer to active espionage is fascinating. Later that night, back at their home, while Luis is in a deep sleep, she makes her move.
What does she do?
She carefully takes his physical thumb and presses it against the home button of his outdated iPhone.
Oh my God. It is literal domestic espionage.
We need to appreciate the mechanics of this. She bypasses his biometric security to access his raw, unfiltered data. It's an invasion of the absolute most private sphere imaginable.
And what she finds in that phone is the turning point for everything that happens next.
It changes everything.
She finds the text thread with Isabel. Isabel writes, "I love you so much I could burst. Congratulations, my love."
Oof, that hurts.
Now that is devastating, certainly. Discovering your husband is having an affair is a profound trauma. But, and this is key, it's not Isabel's text that breaks Anna.
No, it's Luis's response.
It is Luis's reply. Louis replies to Isabel, "I couldn't have done it without you. You're incredible. I love how smart you are."
I love how smart you are.
Ugh.
Let's spend some time analyzing why that specific sequence of words is a psychological kill shot for Anna.
It's the worst thing he could have said.
For Anna, smart is not just an adjective. It is her core brand identity.
Right.
It's a fundamental architecture of her self-worth. If we look at her background, dating back to a highly traumatic childhood engineered by a cold, demanding mother who was a brilliant physicist, Anna was taught that intelligence was her only currency.
There was no room for emotion.
Her mother viewed emotional connection as a weakness and children as a distraction from what she called the work.
So how did Anna cope?
Anna survived that upbringing by being the smartest person in the room. To see her husband projecting her defining trait, her intellectual superiority, onto a younger, seemingly more successful rival, is an existential threat.
It's not just physical infidelity.
Exactly. It is the total theft of her intellectual identity. If she is no longer the smart one, and she's no longer the indispensable support system, she ceases to have any value whatsoever in her own ecosystem.
So what does a strategic, highly logical operator do when their market share is threatened by a newer, sleeker model?
They go give up.
They don't file for bankruptcy. They initiate a counter strategy.
Right. She goes on the offensive.
First, she engages in aggressive competitor analysis. She literally stalks Isabel.
Which is so unhealthy.
She finds Isabel's vivid blue house, she watches her running routine, and then she attempts to mirror the competitor's product features.
Ah, the running gear.
This part is so painfully relatable in its desperation. She goes out and buys the exact same $160 running shoes with the hot pink stripes that Isabel wears.
She's trying to become her.
She buys the exact same leggings with the little tactical holes in them, even though she feels her body doesn't fit them and she feels ridiculous. She's trying to backward engineer youth and desirability.
Alongside mirroring the competitor, she initiates a massive product improvement phase within her own home.
Right, she changes her behavior.
She starts cooking Louis' favorite labor-intensive meals, like salt and pepper calamari.
Which takes forever to make.
She buys expensive, sexy underwear. She plays the role of the perfect, deliriously happy, highly attentive wife.
A total facade.
She's attempting to aggressively manipulate the domestic environment to win back her market dominance. But as she executes this strategy, her analytical mind realizes it's futile.
Because it's fake.
These are superficial cosmetic upgrades. She knows that buying expensive leggings won't fundamentally alter the power dynamic.
Right, because she realizes that being the perfect support system, whether it was at work doing the invisible labor for Jeff and Alex or at home doing the invisible labor for Luis, has consistently yielded a negative return on investment.
It never works out for her.
The support staff always gets ignored. The visionary always gets a prize. Therefore, she makes a calculated, radical decision.
A very dark decision.
She decides to stop being the support staff. She decides to become the visionary. She decides to execute a hostile takeover of intellectual property.
Which brings us to the absolute core of this deep dive, the Pentystone conjecture.
This is the big math problem, right?
Yes. To understand the magnitude of what she is about to do, we have to understand the mechanics of this mathematics problem. The Pentystone conjecture isn't just a difficult equation.
It's historic.
It is a major, unsolved, structural bedrock problem in applied number theory. Solving it is a paradigm-shifting event in the mathematical community.
And who actually solved it?
Alex, her volatile, brilliant, now-deceased student, had solved it before he took his own life.
Wow.
And Anna, because she was previously his co-author before he fired her, has the only digital copy of his final proof on her computer.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Consider the actual physical and digital mechanics of this theft. It is surgical.
Cold-blooded, really.
She locked herself in her new, larger office. She opens the Word document containing the proof. She looks at the metadata. She highlights Alex's name at the top of the document. She hovers her finger over the mouse.
And what is her motivation in that exact second?
In that moment, what is she thinking about? She isn't thinking about math. She is thinking about Louis.
The husband.
She is thinking about Louis kissing Isabel. She's thinking about those specific words on the iPhone screen. I love how smart you are. And with one click of the delete key, she erases Alex's name.
The psychology driving this specific action cannot be overstated. It is vital to understand that she is not stealing this proof primarily for the mathematical glory.
That's just a bonus.
She isn't even stealing it for the $500,000 prize money attached to it by the Leo Forester Foundation, although those are significant, undeniable dividends.
Then what is the main driver?
She is stealing this intellectual property as a direct, ballistic response to her husband's infidelity. If Lewis values smart, she's going to drop a nuclear bomb of intelligence.
She's going to crush the competition.
She is going to prove her intellectual supremacy so definitively on such a massive global scale that Lewis will be forced to stand in absolute awe of her.
It's about dominance.
It is an act of weaponized intellect, specifically designed to secure her domestic position. She then logs into the Journal of Applied Number Theory portal, navigates the submission protocols, and submits the paradigm-shifting paper under her name alone. One author. Sole ownership.
Hold on, I have to stop you there. I understand the emotional drive, the desperate need to reclaim her identity, but let's look at this from a pure risk management perspective.
The risk is astronomical.
Every hostile takeover requires you to eliminate the paper trail of the previous ownership, sure, but this is where Anna makes a fatal, catastrophic operational error.
The notebooks.
Yes, she has the raw data. She has Alex's 9 black spiral notebooks. These notebooks contain all of his workings, his false starts, the dead ends, the raw mathematical architecture that led to the final proof.
It's the evidence.
To cover her tracks and permanently sever the asset from its original creator, she decides she has to destroy them.
Which is wild.
She actually considers throwing them in a dumpster behind a supermarket, but decides that's too risky, someone might find them.
So what does she do?
So instead, she hires a secure, professional shredding service to completely pulverize the 9 notebooks into dust. Why on earth would she permanently destroy the only thing that proves the work was done?
From a risk management perspective, as you pointed out, it is sheer insanity. But this is where her emotional trauma profoundly overrides her logical training.
She's not thinking clearly.
In her desperation to erase Alex's ghost from the narrative, to convince even herself that this victory is solely hers, she destroys the foundational evidence of the work's creation.
She completely ignores the rules of her own field.
She fails to respect the compliance mechanisms of her own industry. Let's look at how academic peer review and validation actually function.
Okay.
In the scientific community, the final published proof is the product. But the raw data, the notebooks, the scribbles, that is the provenance.
Ah, like in art.
It's exactly like the art world Lewis operates in. If you discover a supposed lost masterpiece by Picasso, the art world doesn't just look at the painting and accept it.
Right, they don't just say, looks good to me.
They demand the provenance, the documentation of its history. You cannot verify ownership of a paradigm-shifting discovery without the provenance.
And she destroyed it.
Her failure to understand the compliance requirements of high-stakes academic validation will spectacularly backfire.
Yep.
She believes she is burning the bridge to protect her castle without realizing she just burned the blueprint required by the inspectors to prove she actually built the castle.
Exactly. I mean, to take that a step further, she is so focused on the immediate emotional payout that she completely ignores the long-term structural integrity of her lie.
She's totally short-sighted.
But here is the wild part. For a brief, intoxicating window of time, the hostile takeover actually works. The strategy yields massive, immediate dividends.
It gets exactly what she wanted.
The academic journal reviews the elegant, beautifully simple proof and accepts it for publication. The Leo Forester Foundation announces she is the recipient of their highly coveted $500,000 prize.
The total sweep.
And the power dynamics in her entire ecosystem invert instantly.
The shift is breathtaking to watch. Let's look at her workplace. Jeff, the boss, who just days ago sat on her desk and told her she lacked ambition, suddenly has his arm draped around her shoulders.
Of course he does.
He's aggressively demanding they go get drunk to celebrate her genius. And Mila, the woman who took her promotion because she was better at networking.
What happens to her?
Jeff instantly relegates Mila to doing the administrative grunt work of writing a PR piece about Anna for the university website.
Oh, the irony.
Anna literally remarks internally that Jeff backed the wrong horse. She has subjugated her professional rivals entirely through this stolen IP.
And the domestic dividends are equally, if not more, pronounced. When she calls Luis and tells him she solved the Pentystone conjecture and won $500,000, the shift in his tone is immediate and visceral.
He is suddenly obsessed with her.
He is instantly infatuated with her success. The power dynamic snaps right back to her. He eagerly plans a massive celebratory family dinner at the Confidoi, which is this exclusive, highly desirable, very expensive French restaurant in town.
So she wins him back.
She has successfully reasserted her dominance in the marriage. She is no longer the invisible logistical support. She is the undisputed, brilliant star of the show. She has outsmarted Isabel.
But this is where the reality of risk management always catches up to you.
The liabilities.
When you build a business model or a life on unmitigated risks, the liabilities always return to collect. You can mask a vulnerability, but you cannot ignore it forever.
And her liabilities are knocking.
The previously ignored threats start knocking at her door, and they are escalating in severity. Anna walks out to her car one afternoon riding this massive, intoxicating high of success, only to find a word aggressively and deeply scratched into the paint of her vehicle.
The word is Delure.
Yes, scratched right into the paint.
Now, June, the department's administrative assistant, tries to soothe her by dismissing it. June says it's probably just bored neighborhood kids acting out.
But Anna knows better.
But Anna knows it's not kids. She knows exactly what this is. She suspects Ryan. And let's analyze the use of that specific word. It's not just random vandalism. It is a highly targeted psychological payload.
Yes, the specific use of that word relates directly back to the vulnerability she leaked to him at the law faculty party.
The venting session.
Right. She discussed sex. She discussed promotions granted for sexual favors. She discussed her husband's infidelity.
So it's a message.
Ryan is using that word to signal that he remembers exactly what she said. He is signaling that he is inside her perimeter.
The digital threat is becoming physical.
The digital threat, the photo on his phone, the knowledge he possesses, has now manifested into physical property damage, and this physical intrusion escalates dramatically that very evening.
Right, at the Confit-Doy, this is supposed to be her victory lap. They're having this beautiful, triumphant family dinner.
The perfect night.
The lighting is perfect. The food is incredible. Luis is fawning over her. The kids are happy. She has manufactured the exact reality she wanted.
And
then her 10-year-old son, Matty, stops eating. He looks up, points to the window facing the street, and says someone is watching them.
that is so creepy.
Anna turns around, and it's Ryan. He's clean-shaven now, looking young and almost confused, but he is standing right there on the sidewalk, staring directly at her through the glass while she is sitting with her family.
The sheer terror of that moment is profound. The visual metaphor is striking here.
How so?
Her two disparate worlds are colliding. On one side of the glass, you have the pristine, victorious domestic reality she has engineered through theft.
Right.
On the other side of the glass, you have the sordid, reckless, uncontrollable liability she created through her stress response. And they are literally separated only by a pane of glass.
She completely panics. She excuses herself, rushes outside into the cold air to intercept him, to somehow prevent him from walking into that restaurant and blowing up her entire meticulously constructed life.
But he's gone.
But he vanishes. He's gone. And this disappearance forces Anna into an active mitigation strategy. She realizes she can no longer ignore the threat. She has to neutralize it.
So she tries to use the system.
So she attempts to use the formal institutional channels she knows so well. She goes over to the law faculty to find him, only to discover from his colleagues that he abruptly left the university weeks ago.
Which leaves her with only one option.
So she pivots. She calls human resources to get his home address so she can confront him.
And this is where we see the absolute irony of corporate structures. She encounters the very bureaucratic friction she used to manage for others.
HR blocks her.
HR formally informs her that due to strict corporate privacy guidelines and data protection laws, they cannot, under any circumstances, release an ex-employee's home address without express written permission.
Which she obviously doesn't have.
Furthermore, during this call, Anna realizes a terrifying detail. She doesn't even know his last name.
Let's deeply analyze the mechanics of HR privacy protocols here. These protocols are designed to protect the institution, not the individual.
Exactly.
Anna is perfectly willing to weaponize institutional rules when it suits her, like using her new status to relegate Mila to PR duties. But she is entirely blocked by those same rules when she desperately needs them to mitigate a threat.
She is entirely blocked by the institution's firewall.
She cannot track him. She cannot negotiate with him. She cannot neutralize him. She is flying blind in her own life, just waiting for a volatile asset to detonate at any moment.
The psychological tension is unbearable at this point. She has achieved everything she wanted on paper. She has the prize, the respect, the devoted husband.
But it's all built on a fault line.
She is completely surrounded by structural instability, which brings us to the climax of her institutional integration, the university's formal celebratory dinner held in her honor.
Set the scene for us. It's the pinnacle of academic validation. They have the crisp white linen tablecloths, the expensive floral arrangements, the crystal glasses.
Very glamorous.
The dean of the university is standing at a podium giving a glowing speech about her unparalleled genius. And during this dinner, while everyone is celebrating her intellect, she leans over to June and reveals a deeply illuminating piece of her psychological architecture.
She finally talks about her mother.
Right.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this quiet conversation with June amidst the clinking glasses is the Rosetta Stone for Anna's entire behavioral matrix.
It explains everything.
Anna reveals that her parents were strict, uncompromising physicists. They didn't view her as a child. They expected her to be their best work.
That's a lot of pressure.
Her mother explicitly warned her against the trappings of domesticity, telling an 11-year-old girl that children serve absolutely no purpose and only interfere with the work.
Who says that to a kid?
Her mother viewed family, empathy, and emotional connection as pure liabilities to intellectual greatness.
The generational irony here is just staggering. Think about it. Anna spent her entire adult life trying to balance these two opposing forces.
The family and the career.
She desperately built the perfect family, the beautiful house, the supportive marriage, to prove her cold mother wrong. To prove you could have love and intellect.
But then she felt she was losing her husband precisely because she wasn't smart enough in his eyes.
Right. So, to save the very family her mother viewed as a liability, Anna finally achieved the work her mother always demanded.
But she didn't achieve it through her own intellect.
No. She achieved it through desperate IP theft. She has become the exact monster her mother wanted her to be, but her foundation is entirely fundamentally fraudulent.
And as we know from both corporate auditing and structural engineering, fraudulent foundations cannot survive institutional stress tests.
The trap is about to spring.
The trap, which she herself armed the exact moment she hired that shredding service, finally snaps shut. And it happens in her brand new, massive corner office.
Who springs it?
Mila comes in to conduct the PR interview for the university website. Mila's just going through the motions, clearly resentful of being assigned this task by Jeff.
Right, she doesn't want to be there.
And she asks a seemingly standard, innocuous operational question. She asks Anna for her supporting documentation, the notebooks, the scribbles, the work in progress.
Just for some B-roll, basically.
She just wants to snap a few photos of the raw math to upload as visual material for the website feature.
Anna, who is currently riding incredibly high on her own hubris and the success of the dinner, just brushes it off.
She thinks she's untouchable.
She casually tells Mila that she threw all that old stuff away when she moved into the new office. She thinks she can just talk her way out of it using her new authority.
Right. She tells Mila it doesn't matter. It's all codified in the published paper anyway.
But Mila, almost offhandedly, reveals the fatal structural flaw in Anna's entire master plan.
Mila explains that it isn't just for the website.
It's a rule.
It is a strict, non-negotiable compliance rule of the Leo Forester Foundation. Let's look at why grant foundations operate this way.
To prevent exactly this.
When you are awarding $500,000 for a paradigm-shifting discovery, you are acutely aware of the potential for fraud. You need to verify the methodology.
You need the proof of the proof.
Mila tells her that the foundation will only disperse the prize money, and the mathematical community will only formally validate the proof if the author submits the original raw notebooks showing precisely, step by step, the dead ends and breakthroughs of how they arrived at the solution.
The audit trail is not optional.
In high-stakes academia, the audit trail is mandatory.
So I want you, the listener, to look at the ultimate, inescapable business paradox Anna has engineered for herself. To execute the hostile takeover, to steal the proof and secure the asset for herself without Alex's ghost lingering over it, she absolutely had to destroy the paper trail.
She had to shred those 9 notebooks.
But to monetize that exact same asset, to actually claim the $500,000, satisfy the foundation, and solidify her newly won empire, the institution strictly requires that exact paper trail. When you build an empire on a stolen foundation and you deliberately burn the blueprints to hide your tracks, what happens when the inspectors finally show up and demand to see the architecture? So you have to consider the sheer computational power required by the human brain to just manage a single massive lie.
Oh, absolutely. It is exhausting.
Right. Like you have to monitor everything you say, track who knows what, and constantly scan your environment for threats to your fabricated reality.
It now stack a second massive of crisis on top of that. Your cognitive load just maxes out.
Exactly. Your mental RAM is completely consumed by survival processes. And that is precisely the psychological state we are analyzing today as we jump into part 3 of this deep dive.
Yeah, we are plunging right into the middle of the chaos here. The mission today is to unpack the compounding pressure of imposter syndrome, betrayal, and generational trauma.
We are going to look at exactly how a carefully constructed perfect life disintegrates when the lies holding it together start to collide. So we pick up the thread with Anna.
Right. She is sitting in a tapas bar with her friend June, drinking margaritas out of jam jars.
And the contrast in this scene is incredibly stark. You have the physical warmth of the bar, the lime juice, the dry orange curacao.
It's all acting as a buffer against the icy wind outside. But internally, Anna is running completely hot.
Totally overheating. I mean, she is celebrated globally for winning this prestigious Pentystone Mathematics Prize.
A prize she fundamentally knows she stole from a student named Alex Brooks.
Yeah, and the foundation has just requested her preliminary notebooks, the exact notebooks she deliberately destroyed.
The destruction of those notebooks is such a fascinating defensive maneuver. And it just instantly backfired on her.
It really did.
When you look at the architecture of corporate or academic fraud, the perpetrator often destroys the primary evidence to eliminate the trail.
Right, they want to burn the evidence.
But they fail to account for the procedural requirements of the institution. The foundation doesn't just want the final proof. They require the audit trail.
They need to see the mechanism of discovery. And the moment Anna realizes this, her mind doesn't go to confession.
No, not at all. It goes straight to fabrication. She actually brainstorms how to reverse engineer authenticity.
Which is wild. She considers buying new notebooks and, staging the aesthetic of the tortured genius.
Yeah, adding rings from overflowing coffee cups, deliberately spilling red wine on the pages.
That detail is just staggering to me. She wants to manufacture the physical artifacts of struggle.
It is a literal fabrication of the creative process.
It reminds me of companies that buy pre-distressed furniture to look like they have a rich, localized history. She is trying to forge not just the mathematics, but the human experience of solving it.
Exactly. But because she can't easily reproduce the sheer volume of work Alex Brooks actually did, her brain executes this terrifying cognitive distortion.
She pivots to believing her own PR.
She really does. She rationalizes the massive fraud by telling herself, well, I solved it, didn't I?
Yeah. She says, the whole world knows I solved it. They could hardly not give me the prize.
It is a mechanism of profound self-preservation. She leverages external validation to override her internal reality.
Right. If the market believes the product is functional, the internal code errors no longer matter to her.
When the reality of your actions threatens to annihilate your identity, the ego just constructs a firewall.
She has repeated the narrative of her genius so frequently that she feels an entitlement to the prize, completely decoupled from the actual labor of earning it.
But, maintaining that firewall takes an immense toll on the nervous system. The stress doesn't remain compartmentalized in her professional life.
No, it bleeds laterally right into her personal life. Which brings us back to the margaritas and the tapas bar.
Right. Alcohol acts as a depressant on the central nervous system, specifically inhibiting the prefrontal cortex.
Which is the part of the brain responsible for impulse control, right?
Exactly. Impulse control and managing complex deceptions. So June asks a seemingly innocuous question about Anna's mother, and the firewall completely collapses.
The trauma dump that follows is incredibly difficult to process. You really feel for her here.
That's raw.
Anna describes growing up in Youngstown, finding one single lifeline and a middle school friend named Hope. But Anna's mother systematically dismantles that relationship.
The mother perceives Anna as being, quote, too possessive of her friend.
And instead of navigating that with normal parental guidance, she initiates a protocol of extreme isolation. She grounds Anna for an entire year.
Let that sink in for a second. 12 months of social solitary confinement for a 13-year-old.
It's horrific. And the punishment involves forced labor on the very mathematical conjecture that will later define her adult life.
The Pentystone conjecture. We really have to view this through the lens of behavioral conditioning.
Right.
The mother is essentially running a localized psychological isolation program. She pathologizes her daughter's normal desire for connection.
And then replaces that social connection with an impossible, abstract problem. She is completely rewiring Anna's reward circuitry.
Think about the methodology here. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the mother would put a diagonal slash through Anna's notebooks and command her to just try again.
While the child cried herself to sleep.
Yeah. This conditions the child to associate love and attention solely with relentless, punishing, and ultimately unattainable perfection.
The mother weaponized mathematics. She turned it from a field of inquiry into an instrument of control.
And that conditioning creates a terrifying blueprint for her adult relationships.
It really does. Anna looks at June across the table and states that her husband, Louis, is the only friend she has ever had since Hope.
She views Louis not just as a partner, but as her sole source of relational survival.
He is her entire social portfolio, completely undiversified. And then the system crashes.
Because June asks her to describe Louis in one word.
Right, and while sucking on a prawn tail, Anna blurts out the word unfaithful. It just bypasses all her filters.
Uttering the word unfaithful aloud is a catastrophic system failure for someone in deep denial.
Oh, totally.
When a suspicion remains entirely internal, it exists in a state of superposition. It is both true and not true simultaneously.
But articulating it brings it into the physical world. It forces a collision between her curated external facade and her internal terror.
You can really analyze this as sheer psychological fatigue. She has been running two massive background processes for so long.
Performing the role of the flawless, brilliant wife while silently aggregating data that suggests her husband is betraying her.
But I challenge the idea that blurting it out is purely accidental.
Really? You think she wanted to say it?
I think part of her must desperately want someone else to carry the load of this information. She needs help.
That makes sense. And June, crucially, has firsthand experience with infidelity. She doesn't offer platitudes. She immediately transitions into crisis management mode.
June provides tactical advice, treating the situation almost like an intelligence-gathering operation.
She tells Anna to eliminate the ambiguity, stop second-guessing her own intuition, and look for hard physical evidence.
The specific directive is to check Louis's toiletries bag for condoms.
Which is a highly practical, unsentimental approach to domestic betrayal. June shifts the paradigm from emotional suffering to actionable data collection.
And this empowers Anna. It moves her out of a state of passive anxiety and into active investigation.
Anna executes the strategy with remarkable operational security, too. She waits until Louis removes the children from the primary environment.
Taking them to the ice rink, right?
Yeah, so the house is totally empty. The initial search of the toiletries bag yields a negative result, but Anna's focus shifts to a secondary location.
The garden, specifically the man shed.
The concept of the man shed is vital here. It operates as an air-gapped environment within the marriage. It is defined entirely by his autonomy.
Anna explicitly notes that she has absolutely no reason to ever enter that space.
Right, so she navigates past the bicycles, the chain oil, all the overt symbols of his separate hobbies, and she targets his canvas courier bag.
The psychological threshold she crosses by opening that bag is significant. She is breaching the final boundary of privacy.
And when she locates the receipt from Mall Creations, her initial reaction is pure confirmation bias.
She desperately wants the data to align with a benign narrative. She assumes it is the receipt for the silver heart earrings Louis recently gave her.
The ones he gave her to commemorate her winning the Penny Stone Prize. But the data refuses to align.
The date on the receipt is a 3-month discrepancy.
And the monetary value is the kill shot. $510 for a 14-karat gold necklace.
Wow.
She doesn't just sit with this information either. She immediately escalates. She calls an Uber and goes directly to the jewelry store.
She is operating on pure adrenaline at this point,
Yeah.
seeking visual confirmation of the financial data.
Going to the store is an attempt to quantify the emotional betrayal.
And when she interacts with the saleswoman, who, by the way, she perceives through this lens of defensive judgment as a pristine Stepford wife, she is presented with the physical reality of the object.
Yeah, it is a delicate gold chain, described as a gossamer thread, featuring 2 narrow baguette diamonds designed to rest directly against the collarbone.
We really need to analyze the relational economics at play here. The silver heart earrings she received were a decoy.
Anna even refers to them as trite. She equates them to a functional appliance like a KitchenAid.
They were obligatory performative jewelry. The necklace, however, is an investment piece.
It requires thought, significant capital, and an understanding of the recipient's physical aesthetics.
The brutal realization for Anna is the hierarchy of value.
Exactly. The mistress is receiving the exquisite, intimate asset, while the wife receives the mass-produced, obligatory token.
The physical design of the necklace is deeply symbolic, too. A gossamer thread with diamonds resting in the hollow of the throat suggests a high level of physical access and intimacy.
It is designed to draw the observer's eye to a highly vulnerable, intimate part of the wearer's body.
And this shatters any residual delusion Anna might have harbored that Louis's infidelity was merely transactional or purely physical.
The jewelry implies a sustained, considered emotional investment. It forces Anna to confront the reality of premeditated, long-term deception.
Armed with this granular knowledge, her internal landscape transforms into a high-threat environment. Every single interaction is scrutinized.
Which brings us to the agonizing collision at the local market. Anna is navigating the stalls, hypervigilant, and she spots Luis with his suspected mistress, Isabel.
But the situation is immediately complicated by the introduction of a new variable.
A man named Patrick. He's presented to Anna as Isabel's boyfriend.
The introduction of Patrick is an incredibly effective deployment of cognitive dissonance.
In intelligence circles, this would be considered a false flag operation or a decoy tactic, right?
Exactly. It forces the target, Anna, in this case, to question the validity of her own sensory data. You can observe the psychological whiplash in her internal monologue.
She immediately begins to pathologize her own perception. She asks herself if her insecurity has warped her ability to interpret basic human interactions.
She wonders if she projects desire onto every woman who stands near her husband. It's textbook gaslighting, even if she's partly doing it to herself.
I look at Anna's next move here, and it strikes me as both brilliant and entirely self-destructive.
Oh, inviting them to dinner.
Yes. Instead of retreating from this disorienting encounter, she leans into the chaos. She impulsively invites Luis, Isabel, and the decoy, Patrick, to a dinner party at her own home.
It's the equivalent of a corporate auditor suspecting fraud in a subsidiary and inviting the suspect executives to board headquarters to observe them under pressure.
It is a high-risk honeypot strategy.
And the strategy is born of pure desperation. The ambiguity is more painful than the potential truth, so she creates a controlled environment designed to force an error.
She wants proximity. She wants to observe their micro-expressions, their physical distancing, their eye contact, all in an environment where she controls the variables.
And even in this brief market encounter, the physical tells are present. When Isabel greets Anna, Luis's physiological response betrays him.
He experiences acute vasodilation. He turns bright red.
And he exhibits a self-soothing gesture by rubbing his hand over his chin.
But the most devastating piece of intelligence is gathered at the point of departure. Patrick declines the dinner invitation, but Isabel accepts.
And they exchange the customary European double-cheek kiss.
As Isabel leans in, the mechanics of her tall leather coat shift. The coat gapes open, and right there, between the collarbone and the hollow of the throat, Anna achieves visual lock.
She sees the glint of the two narrow diamond baguettes suspended on the gossamer thread of gold.
That visual confirmation completely neutralizes the gaslighting effect of Patrick's presence.
The physical evidence grounds her suspicion in undeniable reality, and consider the sheer audacity of Isabel's action here.
Right. She is wearing the $500 investment piece purchased by Luis, and she wears it while physically embracing his wife.
It is a profound boundary violation disguised as social etiquette. It signals a level of confidence and ownership over the secret that leaves Anna entirely unmoored.
The claustrophobia of this narrative is incredible because Anna is granted zero recovery time. Her domestic reality has completely fractured, but the demands of her professional environment offer no sanctuary.
In fact, her loss of control at home is immediately mirrored by a brutal and terrifying loss of physical autonomy at the university.
We transition from the psychological warfare of the market to the very real physical threat posed by her superior, Jeff.
The interaction with Jeff is a masterclass in the weaponization of institutional power. Jeff observes that Anna is in a compromised emotional state.
She had just been crying in her office with June over the situation with Luis.
And predators in corporate or academic environments are highly attuned to vulnerabilities. Jeff leverages his senior position, ostensibly under the guise of professional collaboration regarding the upcoming Forrester lecture, to isolate her from the herd.
He directs her to a stationery cupboard. The spatial dynamics here are critical. This isn't an office with a window.
No, it is a utilitarian storage room filled with archive boxes and rigid metal shelves holding cleaning supplies.
It is a dead zone. The moment they're inside, he locks the door, effectively trapping her.
He physically presses her against the metal shelves and sexually assaults her.
The environment is aggressively claustrophobic, serving as a literal manifestation of her trapped professional standing.
The physical assault is terrifying, But Jeff's reaction to her resistance is what reveals the true architecture of his malice.
When Anna fights back, utilizing necessary physical force by biting his hand to break his hold, Jeff experiences an acute narcissistic injury.
His ego is bruised. He immediately drops the facade of the overly friendly mentor and transitions into overt institutional sabotage.
He demonstrates to her exactly how much power he holds over her career trajectory. He dismantles her professional reality in a matter of seconds.
He informs her that her failure to secure the highly coveted professorship wasn't a result of the board rejecting her merits.
No, he reveals that he simply never submitted her application. He acted as an invisible gatekeeper.
All of her supplemental labor, the extensive funding proposals, the specialized initiatives designed to attract young women to mathematics was entirely futile.
Because he unilaterally decided to kill her application in his desk drawer.
It is administrative violence. He erased her labor without her knowledge.
But the true leverage he applies is the threat of exposure. He utilizes a concept similar to mutually assured destruction, but the power dynamic is entirely asymmetrical.
He brings up a prior incident at a conference in Chicago. He threatens to frame her behavior there, claiming she was drunk and acting like a tease.
Thus weaponizing her own past actions to destroy her professional reputation if she speaks out about the assault in the cupboard.
But the kill shot, the line that completely paralyzes her, is when he smirks and says, "Maybe you're hiding something. Maybe you're just a fraud."
This is where the compounding lies create a fatal vulnerability, because Anna is a fraud.
She faked the penny stone proof. This is exactly the mechanism of a compromised victim.
Let's analyze her decision-making process in the immediate aftermath. She retreats to the bathroom, washes her face, and makes the calculated decision not to report the assault to human resources.
Why? Because the cost of engagement is simply too high.
She operates under the assumption that if Jeff exposes the Chicago incident to Louise, it will accelerate the dissolution of her marriage and drive Louis permanently to Isabel.
It is a horrific catch-22. Furthermore, she cannot gauge the depth of Jeff's intelligence.
She doesn't know if his comment about her being a fraud is just a general insult designed to undermine her confidence, or if he has actually discovered that she stole the mathematical proof from Alex Brooks.
The mere probability that he might possess that information makes him an existential threat.
To report the sexual assault would invite an investigation into her credibility, which is the one thing she cannot survive.
Her silence becomes the currency she uses to buy the continuation of her fraudulent life. She is trapped in a defensive posture on multiple fronts.
With her professional flank entirely exposed and undefendable against Jeff, she concentrates all her remaining resources on securing her primary asset,
Her family.
This sets the stage for the dinner party with Isabel, which is perhaps one of the most tense, high-stakes domestic encounters you could ever engineer.
The dinner party operates as a theater of passive aggression. Every movement is calculated.
Anna is pouring wine, navigating the space, and deliberately complimenting a wonky bagel silver ring that Isabel is wearing.
It's a probing attack, an attempt to force Isabel into a defensive position regarding the source of her jewelry.
And Isabel seamlessly counters, attributing the diamond necklace to the absent Patrick.
The social contract of a dinner party forces them to exchange pleasantries while actively trying to destroy each other. It is a fascinating display of resource guarding.
Anna views her family as a fortress. But the most destabilizing element of this dinner party doesn't originate from the rival.
It originates from within the fortress itself.
Anna's own children, Carla and Maddie, unwittingly become instruments of psychological warfare. During dessert, the children excitedly regale Isabel with the fairy tale origin story of their parents' relationship.
The children's narrative is deeply disturbing in its innocence. Maddie explains to the table that his mom fell in love with his dad, but dad was dating another girl.
Then the other girl died from eating a peanut, which allowed mom to be with dad.
The child frames it as a providential happy ending. But this innocent recitation forces Anna into a severe internal flashback.
Revealing an origin story so dark, it completely recontextualizes her character. We have to critically evaluate the information presented in this flashback.
Anna admits to a profound, unrequited obsession with Luis during their college years. Luis was involved with Monica, who is described as the quintessential, flawless girl next door.
Anna essentially orchestrates a confrontation at a college party, corners an intoxicated Luis, and attempts to initiate a physical relationship.
And Luis gently but firmly rejects her, explicitly stating his love for Monica.
Now, let's focus intensely on the sequence of events that follows. That exact same night, while Anna is enduring this rejection at the party, Monica is back at her dormitory.
Monica consumes a piece of cake containing peanuts. She experiences a severe anaphylactic reaction.
And the critical piece of medical equipment necessary to save her life, her EpiPen, is inexplicably missing. It is, quote, misplaced.
Monica dies, and Anna immediately positions herself as the primary emotional support for a devastated Luis.
Her internal monologue is chilling. She thinks, I was in love with Louis, but he was with Monica. Then Monica ate a peanut, and he was mine.
The utilization of the passive voice in her internal narrative, the EpiPen was misplaced, is a massive red flag.
We have to analyze the situational ethics and the circumstantial evidence here. Consider Anna's earlier recollection of that day.
Right, she says, the last time I saw her, I was in the bathroom. Monica walked in, stepped into one of the shower cubicles with her pink plastic bathroom bag.
You cannot ignore that framing. The text does not explicitly depict Anna reaching into the pink plastic bag and stealing the EpiPen.
But when you look at her psychological profile, her capacity to rationalize the theft of an academic proof, her obsessive need to secure Louis,
her belief that she must defend her territory at all costs, the implication of murder by omission or direct theft of life-saving medicine is overwhelming.
She didn't bake the peanut cake, but she eliminated the safety net. It alters the entire calculus of her current situation.
If she acquired her husband through an act of supreme moral transgression, potentially manslaughter or murder, then losing him now is not just a romantic failure.
It is an existential invalidation of that original sin. If she loses Louis to Isabel, it means she damned herself for a temporary lease on a relationship.
This amplifies her desperation exponentially. She is not just defending a marriage, she is defending the justification for a horrific crime.
This realization completely changes how we view her interaction with Isabel.
When the dinner finally concludes, the psychological combat moves to the exterior of the house. Anna retreats to a darkened upstairs guest bedroom.
The environment is filled with the detritus of family life-old hockey clubs, Tudis.
She peers through a sliver of the drape, operating essentially as a surveillance camera, watching Louis escort Isabel to her silver Lexus.
The visual composition of this scene is striking. The yellow streetlight reflecting in the pools of water creates a cinematic isolation around Louis and Isabel.
And then the physical boundary is breached. Isabel takes Louis's face in her white fur-lined gloves, and they engage in a prolonged, deeply intimate kiss.
Anna observes that they kiss with the familiarity of people who know the architecture of each other's mouths perfectly. It is undeniable proof of a sustained, passionate relationship.
But the kiss itself isn't the climax of the scene, it's the immediate aftermath.
Right, as the embrace concludes and Lice lowers her hands, Isabel does something extraordinary.
She lifts her face, looks directly up at the exact darkened window where Anna is hidden, and she smiles. She breaks the fourth wall of the affair.
In behavioral terms, that smile is an overt dominance display. It signifies a transition from clandestine deception to open warfare.
Isabel is not just surviving the affair, she is asserting ownership over it.
By acknowledging Anna's surveillance, Isabel communicates that she holds the power in the dynamic. She controls Louis, and by extension, she dictates the reality of Anna's life.
It is an attempt to completely break the target's psychological resistance. The expected reaction to such a blatant display of dominance would be explosive anger.
You would expect Anna to run downstairs, confront them, throw his possessions out into the rain. She even fantasizes about doing exactly that.
But her actual behavior is a tragic manifestation of trauma. She retreats, she crawls into bed, and spoons the very husband who just betrayed her.
This behavior aligns perfectly with the fawn trauma response. When faced with an overwhelming threat and lacking the resources for fight or flight, an individual will attempt to appease the source of the threat to avoid further harm.
She clings to the betrayer because the betrayer is the only anchor she has in a disintegrating reality.
She whispers into his neck, invoking their college years, reminding him of a decades-old promise that he would keep her forever.
It is a regression to an earlier, safer state, highlighting her absolute pathetic dependency. It is a devastating portrait of denial.
But the systemic collapse of her life is far from over.
Just as she accepts the total humiliation of her domestic situation, her professional life suffers a fatal blow. And the architect of this destruction is Jeff, utilizing a ghost from her past.
Jeff summons Anna to his office. His demeanor is relaxed, almost jovial, which is a classic intimidation tactic.
Anna, anticipating another physical confrontation or a continuation of the blackmail regarding her promotion, attempts to employ a defensive countermeasure.
She secretly initiates a recording on her mobile phone. But Jeff is operating on a completely different strategic level.
He has transitioned from physical threat to administrative warfare. He informs her that Jeanette in Human Resources has received a formal complaint of sexual harassment.
And the psychology of Anna's immediate reaction is fascinating. Her first thought is a rush of relief.
She assumes that another female colleague has finally reported Jeff. She thinks she has found an ally, a breach in Jeff's armor.
She assumes he is calling her in to demand her silence or support, but Jeff executes a masterful countermove.
He notices the recording device, physically confiscates her phone, deletes the audio file, and tosses the device back into her lap.
He has completely neutralized her amateur espionage. Then he delivers the critical information. The complaint is against you, Anna.
The complainant is Ryan. To fully grasp the magnitude of this, you have to revisit the intelligence Anna shared with June earlier.
Weeks prior, when Anna was initially spiraling over suspicions of Luis's affair and simultaneously dealing with the professional humiliation of a colleague named Mila receiving a promotion over her, she attended a conference in Chicago.
She was emotionally compromised, feeling entirely devalued. In that state of devaluation, she encounters Ryan, a 26-year-old student who also functions as an IT support desk employee.
Anna openly confessed to June that she engaged in a physical encounter with Ryan purely as a mechanism of revenge against Luis.
She objectified Ryan. She used him as an instrument to balance the internal scales of her perceived marital injustice.
It is a transactional approach to human intimacy, and it has now generated catastrophic blowback.
That impulsive, retaliatory act in a Chicago hotel room has been weaponized against her.
Ryan has filed formal allegations of non-consensual sexual touching and forcing compliance under duress. He has officially documented that Anna's behavior was the primary catalyst for his departure from the university.
This creates an inescapable administrative trap. Jeff, the man who literally sexually assaulted Anna in a cupboard, now assumes the role of the impartial institutional administrator.
He assures her that the university will conduct a fair investigation.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate checkmate. The bureaucratic process itself becomes the weapon.
The elegance of Jeff's strategy is horrifying. By initiating a formal investigation into Anna's conduct, he essentially freezes her career. He ruins her pristine academic reputation.
But most importantly, he creates a perfect defensive shield for himself.
If Anna attempts to report his assault in the stationery cupboard now, it will be immediately dismissed by Human Resources as a retaliatory, desperate fabrication designed to deflect from her own misconduct.
She is completely neutralized. She is experiencing institutional suffocation.
She is being prosecuted for the exact violation she is a victim of, and the prosecution is being managed by her abuser.
The psychological pressure of this environment is unsustainable. And yet, amidst this total systemic failure, she is required to perform.
Her marriage is an open joke. Her career is under formal HR review. Her stalker is initiating legal action, but she must step onto a literal stage and execute the role of the genius mathematician.
The Forrester Lecture serves as the crucible for this entire narrative.
Anna is standing at a lectern in a newly refurbished auditorium, preparing to present the mathematical solution she stole to an audience comprising the nation's top scientific minds.
The irony is suffocating. She begins the lecture, and her opening remarks are a brilliant, highly poetic parallel to her own collapsing existence.
She utilizes mathematical concepts as a framework to describe her psychological isolation.
She discusses twin primes, numbers separated by a difference of 2, perpetually close, but never truly touching.
She talks about solitary numbers, numbers that have no friends in the mathematical sense.
She describes perfect numbers that form an exclusive club to which weird numbers cannot belong.
The metaphor is incredibly dense. She is ostensibly lecturing on the random, abstract affection of prime numbers, but she is essentially confessing her own relational isolation.
The strange, broken couplings in her life and her profound imposter syndrome.
And she is executing it perfectly. She has the crowd engaged. They are laughing at her jokes, leaning in, taking notes. She is at the absolute peak of the performance.
And then the system is breached. Her phone, resting on the lectern, buzzes.
It is a text message from a private number containing a single word, WH or is.
This is immediately followed by a thumbnail image. When she swipes the screen, her phone displays a nude photograph of herself taken during the encounter with Ryan in the Chicago hotel room.
It is a sudden, violently intrusive exposure of her most closely guarded secret. The timing is engineered for maximum psychological damage.
The auditorium is waiting for her to advance to the next slide of her presentation. The silence stretches.
And then the second text message arrives. Enjoy your next slide. I know I will.
This initiates a massive panic response. Anna's prefrontal cortex shuts down, and her amygdala takes complete control.
She makes a rapid, catastrophic assumption. Given Ryan's background in IT support, she instantly believes he has compromised her laptop, hacked the presentation file, and embedded the explicit photograph into the upcoming slide.
She is convinced that a single click of the mouse will project her naked, compromised body onto the massive screen behind her.
Broadcasting her shame to the dean, the Forrester Foundation representatives, and her peers, the terror is absolute.
So she executes a scorched earth protocol. She slams the laptop shut. She physically violently yanks the connection cord out of the machine.
The massive screen above her turns blue, displaying a sterile, no-signal message. She initiates a self-inflicted denial of service attack on her own career.
When the audiovisual technician rushes the stage to assist her, she is actively hyperventilating, dripping with sweat, and aggressively hissing at him to back away.
She completely shatters the professional momentum, effectively ruining the most significant academic lecture of her life to prevent the perceived exposure.
But the true horror of this sequence is revealed in the aftermath. Later, Anna is sitting alone in her car in the parking lot. The adrenaline has drained, leaving only exhaustion.
She tentatively opens her laptop and scrolls through the PowerPoint presentation. She checks it once. She checks it a second time.
There is no photograph. The slides are completely normal.
Ryan didn't hack the presentation file. He hacked her psychological operating system.
He understood the architecture of her guilt and her terror. He knew he didn't need to actually alter the digital infrastructure. He merely needed to plant a malicious suggestion at the exact moment of her maximum vulnerability.
He used her own imposter syndrome as the payload. He weaponized her mind against itself.
He forced her to pull the plug on her own triumph.
And as she sits in the sterile environment of her car, the final piece of the puzzle locks into place. She understands Ryan's true objective.
He knows about the Pentystone Prize. This isn't merely a vindictive response to a bruised ego from a brief encounter in Chicago.
It is a highly calculated extortion campaign. He is demonstrating his capability.
By forcing her to ruin her lecture, he is showing her the exact level of destruction he can deploy at any moment. He is demanding a portion of her newly acquired prize money.
He has proven that he has root access to her deepest fears. The moment she pulled that plug on stage, she proved to him, and more devastatingly to herself, that she will pay any price, endure any humiliation, and destroy any career milestone just to keep the core foundation of her lies intact. Imagine waking up one morning as the CEO of a highly successful, highly specialized firm.
Right, you're at the absolute top of your game.
Exactly. You pour your coffee, you check your phone, and you realize that overnight, a perfectly synchronized nightmare has just unfolded.
A total systemic failure.
Yeah. The SEC is at your door for a surprise regulatory audit. A rival corporation has just launched a hostile takeover of your most valuable intellectual property.
Wow, okay.
And on top of all that, there's an internal embezzlement scandal brewing with your most trusted partner.
Which is just, I mean, that's a nightmare scenario.
It is. Your personal life is a PR disaster waiting to hit the front pages. You are completely surrounded, your defenses are breached, and you have literally zero time to prepare.
Zero, you're just reacting.
Correct. And that is exactly the operational reality we are dissecting today. We are looking at a subject named Dr. Anna Sanchez.
A brilliant mathematician.
Yes, a recent winner of the prestigious Pentystone Prize, no less, and she is currently standing at the epicenter of a catastrophic convergence of threats.
It's just incredible to analyze.
It really is. We are examining an individual facing a hostile personal dispute that ends in a fatality, an active police investigation, a targeted corporate-style sabotage of her intellectual property, and
the internal stakeholder betrayal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All happening at the exact same time.
It is the absolute definition of a compounding liability crisis.
Yeah.
And, it provides a fascinating blueprint for human behavior under extreme multidimensional duress.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we're going to deconstruct how an individual, like a highly logical, systems-oriented individual operates when multiple high-stakes crises detonate simultaneously.
Because we aren't just looking at this as some simple domestic drama.
No, not at all. By applying a technical crisis management framework to the source material, these detailed behavioral assessments and case files surrounding Anna's situation, we're analyzing this as a masterclass in risk mitigation.
Risk mitigation, leverage deployment.
Tactical survival. Exactly. But more importantly, we are going to examine exactly where her damage control protocols critically, fundamentally fail.
Because they do fail.
Oh, spectacularly. And when you are managing This level of systemic shock, I mean, the failure points are often way more illuminating than the successes.
I completely agree. The sheer volume of operational theaters Anna is managing is just staggering. And I want to put you, the listener, right in the middle of that headspace.
It's a heavy load.
Think about the cognitive load you experience when just one major thing goes wrong at work or at home.
Right, it throws your whole day off.
Exactly. Now multiply that. We have the physical liability, which stems from a violent late-night confrontation with her husband's mistress.
It's a huge variable.
Then we have the legal liability, which arrives the very next morning in the form of a police homicide audit.
Talk about bad timing.
Right. And we also have the professional liability involving targeted blackmail and the sabotage of her life's work.
Her entire career is on the line.
And finally, we have the total structural collapse of her domestic infrastructure. We really have to map out how these separate fires merge into a firestorm.
Well, the bandwidth required to manage just one of these theaters is immense.
Yeah.
To manage all four simultaneously, it requires a level of compartmentalization that borders on the sociopathic.
Or at least the hyper-pragmatic.
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah.
But before the entire system collapses, we really have to look at the initial breach.
The initial destabilization.
Right. To understand the physical confrontation that sets off the legal crisis, we have to look at the tactical, psychological warfare that preceded it.
Because it didn't just happen out of nowhere.
No. The groundwork for Anna's unraveling was laid during what appeared to be just a standard social interaction.
Okay, so let's talk about the dinner party, because this is where the asymmetric warfare really begins.
It's a brilliant setup.
So Anna is discussing a recent dinner with her colleague, June. Her husband, Louis, who is an installation artist, had invited Isabel, a beautiful curator he works with, over for dinner.
Right, bringing the threat right into the home.
Exactly. Now, Anna tells June that Isabel arrived more than half an hour early. Anna wasn't ready at all.
Classic.
She says she had to sit through dinner looking, quote, 100 years old, while Isabel looked like she'd just stepped out of a fashion shoot.
And June immediately clocks this.
Right. She does. She calls it an old trick, the compare the pair tactic.
Which is so accurate. If we connect this to the bigger picture of strategic dominance, arriving excessively early to an opponent's territory is a classic power play.
Oh, totally.
In a business context, it disrupts the opponent's preparation phase. It forces them to transition from a state of internal preparation to external performance.
Before their defenses are fully constructed.
Exactly. Think about military strategy, right? You always want to catch the enemy while they are still setting up camp.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Isabel violates the agreed-upon timeline, which instantly transfers control of the environment directly to her.
But, I mean, are we giving Isabel too much credit as some kind of mastermind here?
How so?
Well, isn't it highly possible she was just nervous and, early? I mean, think about how it feels when a vendor shows up to a boardroom pitch 30 minutes early.
Right, it's awkward.
Yeah, they are sitting in your chair, drinking your coffee, reviewing their notes before you've even had a chance to set up the projector.
You are immediately on the back foot.
Exactly, in your own building. So is that necessarily a malicious strategy or just a byproduct of eagerness that happens to have a destabilizing effect?
I mean, in isolation, sure, it could be dismissed as eagerness, but when you aggregate with her overall presentation, it becomes highly calculated.
You think?
Absolutely. Isabel dictates the terms of the engagement by controlling the timeline to ensure that the contrast, the compare the pair element, is at its absolute maximum differential. She is perfectly polished. Anna is caught off guard, frazzled, and feeling her age.
Right.
In psychology, there is a concept called the contrast effect, where our perception of something is heightened when it's viewed alongside a contrasting object.
Like putting a dull penny next to a shiny new one.
Precisely. By forcing Anna into the frame before Anna is ready, Isabel weaponizes this effect.
Wow.
It's a maneuver designed to induce profound insecurity, and it works flawlessly. It degrades Anna's confidence before a single word is even spoken.
And that insecurity doesn't just dissipate either. It compounds when Anna makes a devastating discovery.
The receipt.
Yes. She finds a receipt for a necklace. $510, bought by Luis last month.
That's rough.
And then the critical visual confirmation, she literally sees Isabel wearing it.
Ouch.
Now, her colleague June tries to play devil's advocate, suggesting maybe it was an old gift from when they were previously involved, but the receipt explicitly places the transaction exactly 1 month prior.
Well, the financial figure here is the most critical piece of forensic evidence.
The $510.
Right. As June points out, An expense of that size isn't a casual gesture. You don't just spend $500 on a whim for a coworker.
Definitely not.
That figure represents a commitment. If we look at this through a corporate forensics lens, this is an unauthorized diversion of shared marital resources.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
It signals a structural shift in Luis's investments. He is reallocating capital, both financial and emotional, away from the primary merger and into a secondary hostile entity.
We can call this a structural shift in investments all we want, but let's be real. If you are Anna, you just found out your husband spent over $500 on a woman who purposefully humiliated you in your own dining room.
It's devastating.
The emotional betrayal here is gut-wrenching. And her reaction isn't just passive grief or crying into a pillow. She goes on a massive bender.
She really does.
She is at a speakeasy drinking cocktail after cocktail of smoky scotch. She's furious. She actually notes that she is so angry with Louis she wants to punch him.
But she doesn't go after Luis.
No. She doesn't go home to confront him. She walks a mile in the freezing cold rain directly to Isabel's house.
Well, alcohol acts as a massive disinhibitor, right? It lowers the barriers of executive function.
Right.
It suppresses the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for impulse control and long-term planning, and it basically allows the more primitive, emotionally driven parts of the brain to take over.
So she's just running on pure emotion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anna breaches the opponent's territory. But what is truly crucial to analyze here is Isabel's negotiation tactic when Anna arrives.
Oh, this part is wild.
Anna tells her, point blank, to stay away from her husband. And Isabel doesn't defend herself. She doesn't apologize.
She doesn't even deny it.
Nope. She bypasses standard defensive PR entirely and goes immediately on the offensive.
It's a staggering pivot. I mean, picture this. Isabel is standing barefoot on this beautiful golden red velvety rug in her home.
So comfortable.
Right, and Anna is dripping wet from the freezing rain, physically uncomfortable and visually compromised all over again.
The contrast effect strikes again.
Yes. Isabel literally laughs at her. She tells Anna, "You don't deserve him. You don't understand him."
So arrogant.
And then she deploys the ultimate devastating psychological weapon. She tells Anna that she is pregnant with Luz's child.
Which just changes the entire landscape. Isabel is claiming total irrevocable ownership of the primary asset.
Luis.
Luis's loyalty, his genetic legacy, his future. She is telling the incumbent CEO that the hostile takeover is not just underway, it is fully complete and legally binding.
Wow, legally binding.
Because she mocks Anna, claiming Luis finds her boring and dull, and states that she can give him the life he actually desires.
It's so cruel.
By introducing the pregnancy, she completely dismantles any leverage Anna thought she had. Anna walked in there thinking she could issue a cease and desist order.
And Isabel counters by showing her the signed acquisition papers.
Exactly.
And Anna's response is a catastrophic physical breach. Isabel smirks and deliberately fiddles with that $510 necklace at her throat, the physical symbol of the diverted resource.
She's just baiting her.
Totally baiting her. Anna lunges at her. She yanks the chain off Isabel's neck with such violent kinetic force that it leaves severe/purple welts across the soft pads of Anna's own palms.
It is a total failure of executive control.
Complete system overload.
The highly intellectual, logical mathematician is reduced to primitive physical violence. When the cognitive load exceeds the system's capacity to process it, the system reverts to its most basic programming, fight or flight.
And Anna chooses fight.
She sure does. But what is truly revealing for our analysis of crisis management is how Anna's brain processes the memory of this traumatic event later.
Oh, the way she describes her memory of the confrontation melting away is incredibly visceral.
How does she phrase it again?
She says fragments go missing, like burn holes that start in the middle of a licked photograph and grow outward, leaving scorched, misshaped rings in their wake until there's nothing left.
That is a powerful image.
If you've ever dealt with IT infrastructure, it is exactly like a corrupted server log.
That's a perfect analogy.
The system experienced a fatal error, an overload of emotional and sensory input. And the most damaging data points, the specific granular details of the physical altercation, are permanently unrecoverable.
Well, neurologically, this is an incredibly accurate depiction of trauma encoding.
Really?
Yeah. During instances of extreme stress, the amygdala, which is the brain's threat detection center, hyperactivates, while the hippocampus, the area responsible for sequentially filing memories, is suppressed by cortisol.
So it just doesn't record properly.
Right. The memory isn't recorded as a coherent narrative. It's recorded as disjointed sensory fragments, Or, in this case, it fails to record almost entirely.
But in a crisis management scenario, this creates a massive operational blind spot.
A huge one.
And blind spots in a highly volatile environment don't stay empty for long, right? They get filled with legal liability.
It's almost immediately.
That missing data becomes her greatest vulnerability the absolute moment the sun comes up, because the environment fundamentally shifts overnight. We move rapidly from a messy personal dispute to a severe regulatory and legal crisis.
Because the morning after the altercation introduces the critical incident that changes the entire nature of the case.
Yeah. Anna wakes up, and the physical description of this hangover is absolutely brutal.
I can only imagine.
Her pillow is damp. Her sheets feel like she sweated all the water from her body. She literally describes having shingles behind the eyeballs.
Oh, that sounds awful.
It's borderline unbearable pain. She has to gulp gallons of water directly from the bathroom tap. She is in a state of absolute physical degradation. Her biological systems are crashing. And while she is in this state, the bomb drops.
Luis receives the news.
Yes, Luis receives news that Isabel has been found dead.
Just like that.
She reportedly fell down the stairs in her home and hit her head. She was discovered by a cleaner just after 9:30 in the morning.
Now think about how you would react to this news. Any normal person hearing that their spouse's pregnant affair partner just died tragically would have a chaotic, intensely emotional reaction.
Oh, of course. Shock, horror.
Maybe a dark, immediate sense of relief that you instantly feel guilty for. Empathy for the loss of human life.
But Anna...
Her mind skips the entire emotional processing phase and races directly to forensic liabilities.
It's chilling.
This is where we see the cold, highly efficient operational manager completely take over the host system. She hears the news of a fatality, and her internal monologue isn't participating in the stages of grief.
Not at all.
It is running a real-time risk assessment. Her immediate thoughts are focused on Lockhardt's exchange principle.
Which is what, exactly?
The forensic theory that every contact leaves a trace.
Yep.
She wonders, will they do some kind of DNA analysis on the unborn child? And what did I do with my gloves again?
It's pure risk management overriding basic human empathy.
Entirely.
I mean, she knows she was at the scene of a fatal incident just hours before it happened. She knows she committed a physical assault by ripping the necklace off.
Right.
But she doesn't know if she pushed her. She doesn't know what evidence she left behind because of her corrupted memory logs, so she is instantly calculating her exposure.
And she has zero time to prepare her defense strategy or coordinate her narrative or even process her physical hangover because the regulatory audit arrives at her office door almost immediately.
Detective Jones.
Detective Jones enters the narrative.
This surprise interview is a masterclass in tension. Anna is sitting in her office at the university, her fingernail literally bleeding because she's been gnawing on it so hard.
Her anxiety is manifesting physically.
Right. Detective Jones walks in, and he is 15 minutes late. Now, I have to ask, keeping the suspect waiting, is that a deliberate interrogation tactic to let the anxiety marinate?
Oh, absolutely. Time manipulation is a cornerstone of interrogation strategy.
Really?
By arriving late, the investigator establishes dominance over the suspect's schedule and forces them to sit in a heightened state of anticipation.
Let them stew in it.
Exactly. The adrenaline spikes then begins to crash, leaving the subject fatigued before the questioning even begins.
And it clearly works because Anna's paranoia is off the charts.
Oh, it's extreme.
When he extends his hand to shake hers, she has this wild, almost science fiction thought about whether police use a thin, invisible film over their fingers, like an undetectable glove, to surreptitiously capture fingerprints during a handshake.
Which is just wow.
Right. Have you ever been so stressed that your brain starts inventing vast, complex conspiracies just to explain everyday objects? That's what her brain is doing.
It's hypervigilance.
Yeah.
Her threat detection system is so overloaded that it is interpreting mundane social rituals as sophisticated traps.
She's terrified of a handshake.
She is projecting her own capacity for calculated deception directly onto the detective.
She actually raises her palms and lies right to his face, saying she just peeled an orange to avoid shaking his hand.
The orange peel lie.
Yeah. She grabs a tissue and deliberately wipes her fingers. And Detective Jones just looks at the empty wastebasket where there are clearly no orange peels.
It's a micro-failure in her crisis PR.
A pretty big one.
Well, under immense cognitive load, individuals often invent alibis or excuses that solve the immediate problem, like avoiding the handshake. But they fail to consider the surrounding environmental evidence.
Like the lack of peels in the trash.
Exactly. It creates a small but noticeable crack in her credibility right at the start.
But she quickly attempts to stabilize her physical presence. She adopts a highly unnatural steepling pose with her hands, pressing them tightly together.
She's trying to hide the evidence.
Right, she's doing this to hide the severe purple welts on her palms, the physical bleeding evidence of the violent altercation. But when he inevitably notices she's hiding her hands and asks about them, she has to lie again.
And notice the quality of the lie. She says, gardening, pulling weeds.
It's a fascinating choice. It's a plausible, incredibly mundane explanation designed to cover violent physical trauma.
It's effective because it uses a socially acceptable domestic activity to explain away an injury that is actually consistent with a struggle.
It's so clever.
Right. Detective Jones then moves into the information gathering phase.
Yeah.
He asks her a series of baseline questions. When did she last see Isabel? How does she seem?
And Anna maintains her cover story.
She does.
She claims she last saw her at the dinner party the previous Friday, completely omitting the midnight confrontation, and says that Isabel seemed perfectly relaxed, not worried or depressed.
She is holding the line, but then she almost slips.
Oh, this part is so tense.
He asks about the relationship between her husband and Isabel. Anna claims it was a normal professional dynamic.
His colleagues.
Right. She says they were close, but then quickly tries to dilute that intimacy by adding that Louis was also good friends with Isabel's fiancé, Patrick.
Oh, right, saying they called each other buddy.
Exactly. But when she tries to solidify the narrative that Louis wasn't just friends with her, she emphasizes the word her with a tiny, almost imperceptible stress of scorn.
That one little word.
It's a micro-expression of hostility leaking through the carefully constructed corporate facade.
Because she hates her.
Yes. When you are lying, you are managing two narratives. The truth, which you are suppressing, and the lie which you are constructing.
That's a lot to juggle.
It requires immense cognitive bandwidth. The emotional truth, her deep hatred for the woman her husband impregnated, briefly overwhelms the suppression mechanism.
And she instantly realizes she screwed up.
She feels her cheeks get hot. It shows that beneath the cold risk management protocols, the emotional volatility is still a highly active, dangerous variable.
So what does this all mean for Detective Jones? Does he notice that slight emphasis?
It's hard to say for sure.
We don't know because he doesn't call her out on it. Instead, he executes a massive pivot. Out of nowhere, he brings up what we can call the Alex Brooks anomaly.
Yes, the Alex Brooks anomaly.
Right. Alex Brooks was a former doctoral student of Anna's in the mathematics department. He died 6 weeks prior by jumping out of a window.
A tragedy.
And Detective Jones casually reveals that the medical examiner hasn't ruled yet on whether it was an accidental death or suicide.
Which is quite a thing to just drop into the conversation.
I want you to imagine being in this room. You are using every ounce of your brain power to lie to a homicide detective about the fact that you assaulted a dead woman last night, and suddenly he asks you about a dead student from 6 weeks ago.
Talk about a curveball.
Why does the detective bring up a pending case student death right in the middle of this? Is this just standard procedure because he happens to be on campus, or is this a deliberate interrogation tactic to test her baseline stress responses?
Oh, it is almost certainly a tactical stress test.
You think?
In interrogation theory, introducing an unexpected, unrelated traumatic event forces the subject to rapidly shift gears. It breaks their prepared narrative rhythm.
So he's throwing her off balance on purpose.
He is testing her cognitive load capacity. If she is lying about Isabel, maintaining that lie requires immense mental energy. Throwing the Alex Brooks variable into the equation forces her to juggle two separate, highly sensitive defensive narratives simultaneously. He wants to see if the distraction causes her primary lie to fracture.
And she really struggles with it. She describes getting a sudden headache. Her eyeballs feel like they are wobbling in her skull. She has a hard time focusing on his face.
The physical symptoms of cognitive overload.
She actually breaks professionalism and asks him, "Why on earth would you ask me that now?"
Which shows he got to her.
Exactly. She eventually recovers, retreating into a standard academic bureaucratic answer, saying the student was struggling. Late on his thesis, she suspected amphetamine use, but the strain is entirely visible.
Because she recognizes that her legal position is incredibly fragile.
Hanging by a thread.
She survived the initial audit, but barely. She knows that if the police dig even an inch deeper into the timeline of the previous night, her entire defense collapses.
She needs an alibi.
She needs an airtight alibi. Which brings us to the securing of the non-disclosure agreement with her colleague, June.
This is one of the most fascinating and frankly risky parts of her entire strategy. Before the police even arrived at her office, Anna realized she needed a firewall.
So she calls June.
She calls June. Now, June had actually covered for Anna the night before when Luz was calling, asking where Anna was.
Right, the initial cover story.
Yeah, Anna had texted June to tell Luis they were at a bar together and Anna was just in the bathroom. It was a flimsy, spur-of-the-moment lie.
Just buying time.
But now, with a dead body and a police investigation, Anna needs to upgrade that casual cover story into a formal legal alibi.
She's attempting to leverage their professional proximity and casual friendship to force severe legal compliance.
And she's aggressive about it.
Very. She pulls June into a private meeting. Notice the physical dominance she employs. She literally drags her chair so their knees are almost touching, invading June's physical space to exert psychological pressure.
Like an interrogator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She demands that June tell the police they were drinking together in a bar until 1:30 in the morning.
And June is obviously and rightfully reluctant. Put yourself in June's shoes. You covered for a friend who is dodging her husband, and now that friend is asking you to lie to a homicide detective.
The stakes have changed entirely.
Later on, June even calls Anna and says she isn't comfortable with this, especially when she realizes Isabel didn't just die in her sleep, she fell down the stairs.
Right. The circumstances are suspicious.
And June correctly deduces that the police are going to ask for an alibi because Luis was having an affair with Isabel, and Anna is the scorned wife.
June is doing her own risk exposure calculations.
Sorry.
Being an accessory after the fact in a homicide investigation carries severe criminal penalties. The cost of compliance for June has skyrocketed.
So what does Anna do?
Anna realizes she has to rapidly deploy counter-leverage to secure June's cooperation. Mere friendship is no longer sufficient currency.
And her leverage is brand reputation.
Brilliant move.
Anna argues that if the police find out about the affair and the fight, it will inevitably get leaked to the press. Why? Because Anna just won the highly prestigious Pentystone Prize.
It's the perfect tabloid fodder.
It's a lurid, tabloid-ready story. The brilliant, award-winning mathematician brawling in the streets with her husband's beautiful, pregnant mistress.
A media circus.
Anna argues the press would absolutely ruin her. She uses her status as an asset that must be protected by the institution, and by extension, by June, who benefits from the department's prestige.
It's a calculated manipulation of shared interests. She successfully forces the pact by intertwining her personal survival with the institutional reputation.
It works. June agrees to say they came back to June's house after the bar.
But what is vital here is analyzing the nature of the fixer Anna has allied herself with.
Oh, June.
When you bring an outside contractor into a crisis management scenario, you have to assess their stability. And June is not a stable, predictable corporate entity.
Not at all. When Anna actually goes over to June's house to solidify the timeline, June serves her this incredibly bizarre experimental snack.
The toffee.
Yes. It's caramelized salted peanut toffee, but she made it with honey instead of sugar, so it has turned into this hard, weird, crumbly mess.
This is terrible.
June describes it as disgustingly delicious and insists Anna eat it while drinking a chai tea that she's spiked with a heavy dash of bourbon.
It illustrates June's erratic, boundary-pushing nature. She thrives on unconventional combinations and pushing people slightly out of their comfort zone.
She definitely does.
But the true red flag regarding June's stability as an asset is what she reveals next.
Why? Out of nowhere, amidst the crumbling honey toffee and spiked tea, June looks at Anna and asks, "Do you have a gun?"
Such a jarring question.
Anna is utterly shocked. June then casually reveals that she keeps a small .380 caliber gun in her bedroom.
Just casually drops that info.
She justifies it by saying she'd be stupid not to have one, living alone in the city as a single woman.
This highlights the extreme volatility of Anna's operational environment. Her primary alibi, the single load-bearing pillar holding up her entire legal defense against a homicide charge, is an unpredictable wild card who keeps a firearm by her bed and casually discusses the necessity of lethal force over tea.
It is a highly unstable alliance.
Anna is relying on a firewall made of dynamite.
And as if managing a homicide investigation, a volatile alibi, and the emotional fallout of a pregnant mistress wasn't enough.
There's more.
Anna walks into work the next day feeling a false sense of security. The weather is crisp and clear. She thinks she has successfully steered the ship through the dark waters into the light.
The calm before the storm.
She thinks the system is stabilizing, and then her operational day is completely devastatingly shattered.
Which brings us to the phase of intellectual property sabotage and institutional blackmail.
Oh boy.
This is the moment where the external crises, which have been confined to her personal life and legal status, violently penetrate her professional sanctuary.
There's a knock on her office door. It's her department chair, Jeff, and another colleague, Mila.
They ambush her.
They completely ambush her, and I mean ambush in the truest corporate sense. Jeff comes in overly relaxed, sitting with his ankle hauled over his knee, taking up space.
Dominating the physical environment.
Right, and Mila is just quietly tapping on her iPad, recording the interaction.
Yep.
It's a perfectly executed, synchronized attack.
They were establishing a tribunal dynamic. 2 against 1.
Right in her own office.
They occupy the primary seating in her own office, forcing her to sit perched on the edge of her seat, waiting to hear her fate. The physical positioning mirrors the power disparity they are about to enforce.
It's so aggressive.
And the payload they deliver is aimed directly at her core asset, her intellectual property, and professional legitimacy.
Jeff reveals that Jack Dawson from the Forrester Foundation, the prestigious organization that is awarding her the Penny Stone Prize, has reached out.
And they have concerns.
Yeah, Jeff says they have concerns. They are officially withholding her prize money.
Which is a massive blow.
Huge. Why? Because while Anna submitted the final paper detailing the elegant solution to the mathematical proof, she hasn't submitted her preliminary work.
The notebooks.
They want her draft notebooks to prove how she discovered the solution.
Jeff frames this entirely as a bureaucratic compliance issue. He claims the Foundation considers the creative process as worthy of archiving as the proof itself.
Sure.
But then he tips his hand and admits they are essentially covering their legal liabilities to prevent future lawsuits from some hypothetical person claiming they contributed to the work.
And Mila chimes in to twist the knife, citing historical precedents. She brings up Izanami Hindle at Princeton and Jeremiah Pell at Stanford mathematicians who were accused of plagiarism.
That's a direct threat.
They are implicitly accusing Anna, right to her face, of stealing her life's work. They are saying she is an intellectual fraud.
We must analyze Jeff's underlying maneuver here, because this is not about compliance.
Not at all.
This is pure, unadulterated institutional warfare.
Yeah.
We know from the source material that Jeff previously made sexual advances toward Anna during an academic trip to Chicago, and she rejected him.
Yes. The history there is critical. During that trip, he actually undid the top button of her shirt.
Highly inappropriate.
Extremely. She was flattered for a brief moment, almost went along with it, but then backed out and shut it down.
Exactly. And the rejection wounded his ego.
Big time.
Now, he is utilizing the machinery of bureaucratic compliance, the sudden, unprecedented demand for preliminary notebooks, to freeze her greatest professional asset and humiliate her.
He is weaponizing the institution's fear of liability against her.
It's a classic retaliatory strike.
I have to push back on the very premise of their demand, though, because it's completely absurd.
How so?
Think about the field we were talking about. How do you prove a mathematical thought process wasn't stolen? It's theoretical math.
Right, it's not a physical object.
It's not like a physical invention where you have blueprints or a prototype you built in a garage. It's an abstract cognitive leap. Sometimes the solution just arrives in your brain while you're staring at a chalkboard.
That is precisely why it is such an effective and devastating attack vector.
Because she can't prove it.
It relies on the impossibility of proving a negative. You cannot definitively, empirically prove that a thought originated solely in your own mind without any external influence.
That's so unfair.
By demanding proof of the unprovable, Jeff creates an impossible compliance hurdle. He knows she likely doesn't have a neat, sequential diary of her genius.
It's a strategic siege designed to induce chronic anxiety and imposter syndrome.
That's the goal.
When Jeff asks if there's a problem providing the notebooks, he drops the calm demeanor and actually yells, "Because you've never done anything like this before."
Showing his true colors.
And Mila adds that Anna never even applied for a grant to undertake the research. They are building a circumstantial case, brick by brick, that she is incapable of this work and must be an imposter.
If we pull back and look at Anna's total operational bandwidth at this exact second, the load is staggering.
It's too much.
She is actively managing the risk of a homicide investigation.
Yeah.
She is coordinating a precarious false alibi with an unstable colleague. She is processing the profound emotional trauma of her husband's infidelity.
All at once.
And now she is forced to defend the intellectual integrity of her entire life's work against a coordinated internal attack by her own department chair.
A human nervous system is simply not designed to process this magnitude of simultaneous threat.
Her system is completely maxed out.
And the hits keep coming, because there's another layer to Jeff's attack that connects to a previous, seemingly isolated incident.
The blackmail.
The blackmail. Earlier in the timeline, Anna was sent a naked photo of herself right in the middle of her lecture from an unknown number.
A horrifying moment.
Later, a student named Ryan filed a sexual harassment complaint against her with HR. Sitting in her office under Jeff's assault, Anna puts the pieces together.
The light bulb goes on.
She realizes these aren't isolated incidents of bad luck. They are a coordinated, synchronized campaign.
This realization triggers the phase of counterintelligence and neutralizing the blackmailer.
I love this part.
This is where we see Anna's strategic brilliance return to the forefront. When cornered, instead of playing defense and waiting for HR to process a fake complaint, she pivots to an offensive posture.
She goes on the attack.
She deploys OSINT open-source intelligence.
Explain how she does this, because it's brilliant. She realizes the student, Ryan, is the weak link in the chain.
Right. The vulnerable asset.
She remembers that during a previous awkward interaction with Ryan, she had briefly scrolled through his phone. She saw photos of a retriever dog.
Just a mundane detail.
But her brain, which is trained to spot patterns and anomalies, recognizes the background of those photos. She identifies a specific geographical location, Lakewood Park.
It's a masterful deduction.
Yeah.
She uses geographical profiling based on casual digital artifacts to locate a hostile asset in the physical world.
It's so smart.
Open source intelligence relies on exactly this, piecing together publicly available or inadvertently revealed information like the background of a photo or reflection in a window or a specific type of foliage to de-anonymize a target.
Wow.
She bypasses the institutional bureaucracy completely. She doesn't go to HR. She goes directly to the physical source.
She gets in her car, drives to Lakewood Park, and physically tracks down Ryan's house.
Just shows up.
She knocks on the door. And here is where her aggressive reconnaissance hits the absolute jackpot. An older woman opens the door. Ryan's mother.
Talk about a plot twist.
She warmly invites Anna into this beautiful upper-middle-class house with arched doorways and Matisse posters on the walls. Anna is standing in the living room, analyzing her surroundings, and she looks at a built-in cabinet filled with framed family photos.
Visual confirmation.
She sees a group photo. Ryan is standing next to his mother, and standing right behind them, plainly visible in the next row, is Jeff.
Boom. In a single moment of visual confirmation, she has successfully identified the hidden structural hierarchy of her attackers.
He's the uncle.
The corporate analogy we discussed earlier of a shell corporation is perfectly applicable here.
Yes, Ryan was nothing more than a proxy, a dummy corporation, a disposable asset set up to take the heat and execute the dirty work.
While Jeff pulls the strings.
Jeff was the hostile holding company, funding and directing the entire operation from the shadows while maintaining plausible deniability.
Having identified the command structure, Anna moves to dismantle it. She corners Ryan in the basement.
Which is his territory, his safe zone.
But she asserts immediate physical and psychological dominance.
Yeah.
Notice her posture. She doesn't accept a seat.
Right.
She stands over him with her fists on her hips, vibrating with controlled anger, and demands to know exactly how he knows Jeff.
And Ryan crumbles immediately.
Folds like a cheap suit.
He turns crimson. He admits Jeff is his uncle. And the confession he spills outlines a conspiracy that is almost unbelievable in its pettiness and cruelty.
So vindictive.
He admits the entire almost tryst they had at a party earlier was a complete setup. Jeff wanted Ryan to lure Anna into an empty office and get a naked photo of her.
Why?
Because she rejected him in Chicago. He wanted leverage to destroy her.
The logistics of the operation are also revealed here. Jeff supplied Ryan with a specific burner phone just to take the photo, which explains why Anna couldn't find the photo when she checked Ryan's personal phone later.
That's sneaky.
Jeff was also the one who keyed her car in the parking lot.
I forgot about that.
And the sexual harassment complaint. Ryan denies ever filing one. He explicitly states he wouldn't do that because Jeff knows he's gay, implying it would complicate the narrative.
So Anna realizes Jeff likely fabricated the entire HR complaint threat out of thin air just to maximize her panic and isolate her from the administration.
Pure psychological warfare.
Jeff was the one who sent the text saying whore during her lecture. He was patiently biding his time, planning to release the naked photo to the internet right when she officially received the Penty Stone Prize.
aiming to inflict maximum public humiliation at the peak of her career.
It is a meticulously planned, long-term campaign of psychological terror driven by wounded narcissism.
But Anna doesn't crumble.
Not at all.
She neutralizes the entire campaign through a flawless execution of strategic extortion.
She turns the tables completely. She looks at Ryan. Ryan is terrified, asking what he's going to do with a real note of panic in his voice.
He knows he's caught.
Anna tells him not to say a single word to Jeff about this conversation. She threatens that if Jeff finds out she knows, she will immediately turn Ryan over to the police for extortion and harassment.
A solid legal threat.
But her real leverage, the knife she really twists, isn't legal, it's social.
Precisely. Legal threats can be fought in court, which takes time and money. Social destruction is immediate.
Oh, yeah.
She points a finger directly in his face and says, I can't imagine you'd want your mother to know you're involved in some sordid blackmail scam either.
Ouch.
She uses his family reputation, the very thing proudly displayed in those framed photos upstairs, as leverage to force a non-disclosure pact.
She hit him where it hurts.
She successfully isolates the proxy from the hostile entity. Jeff has lost his operative.
It's ruthless. It's highly effective. She neutralizes the immediate blackmail threat. She walks out of that house having secured her professional flank.
A major victory.
Now, there's a brief moment of human vulnerability. She sits in her car and cries, feeling deeply humiliated, remembering her mother, and internalizing the misogyny of Jeff's attack. The insidious feeling that she somehow deserved it, just for feeling flattered by his attention for 1 second years ago.
Which is tragic.
But operationally speaking, she won that skirmish. She crushed the proxy.
She did. Let's review her scorecard for the day.
Let's do it.
She has successfully managed a police interrogation regarding a homicide. She has secured a legal alibi. She has neutralized a blackmailer through counterintelligence and extortion. She has fiercely protected the external brand of her family and her career.
That's a busy day.
But all of this external crisis management, all of this outward-facing armor, has left her completely blind and unprepared for the internal collapse waiting for her at home.
Which brings us to the final devastating phase, internal collapse and the spin room.
The domestic front.
Anna goes home after this exhausting, terrifying day. Luis is immediately aggressive the second she walks in. He's itching for a fight.
Of course he is.
He demands to know where she was, why she didn't answer calls from the children's soccer club. Anna is exhausted, pouring heavy amounts of red wine just to numb her nervous system. And then, Luis drops the bomb.
He tells her the police wanted to see him that afternoon to ask about her.
He realizes the walls are closing in.
And then he says the words she has been dreading, the words she has been mentally begging him not to say, because it forces the reality into the open.
I've been having an affair.
The ultimate stakeholder confession.
And the way Luis delivers this confession is just a masterclass in terrible, manipulative crisis communications.
Oh, it's textbook.
He tries to spin it. He attempts to smooth down all the sharp edges of his betrayal to protect his own ego.
Let's heavily critique Luis's strategy here because it relies on a psychological manipulation tactic known as DARVO.
DARVO.
Yes, deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. While he can't deny the affair, he attempts to reverse the roles. He admits the affair started months ago, around April. He claims they were working late on an art show, had a drink, and one thing led to another.
One thing led to another. I hate that phrase.
He's phrasing it as if it were a passive, inevitable force of nature rather than a series of deliberate choices. He says, I don't want to make excuses, and then proceeds to immediately make excuses.
Exactly. Listen to his rationale. She loved my work. She looked up to me. I know it's stupid, but it felt good to be wanted like that.
Unbelievable.
Isn't this the ultimate PR spin? He's framing a deliberate, months-long breach of contract, an affair that resulted in a pregnancy and a diverted $510 asset as a passive, accidental occurrence fueled by his own fragile, artistic ego.
He wants sympathy for his infidelity.
It's disgusting.
It gets worse. Anna asks him the core structural question. Were you going to leave us? She needs to know if the primary institution was marked for demolition.
And what does he say?
Luis admits he was tempted. He had a moment where he thought he could have another kind of life, and then he delivers the fatal blow to their infrastructure. He says, one, when I wasn't at your beck and call all the time.
Oh my God. He shifts the blame directly to her.
Yes.
He weaponizes her management style against her. He claims her domestic demands asking him to be a partner, asking him to walk the dog occasionally, drove him to seek a new life.
He completely abdicates responsibility for his betrayal and lays the failure of his morality at her feet.
And this is the breaking point. This is where Anna's restraint, the cold logic that is held firm against homicide detectives and malicious blackmailers, finally fails.
The internal betrayal causes a total catastrophic system failure.
She is standing in her kitchen, trembling with fury. She grabs a mug from the drying rack and hurls it at him.
The physical manifestation of the collapse.
It shatters. The noise brings their daughter Carla running downstairs asking what's going on. And Luis, continuing his spin campaign, tries to cover it up by telling Carla that Mom is just overreacting.
Gaslighting her entirely justified response to the destruction of her family. He invalidates her reality in front of the stakeholders, the children.
Mom's overreacting, Anna asks. The quietness of that question is terrifying.
And calm before the explosion.
She opens a cupboard, grabs a stack of 4 or 5 heavy plates, and drops them directly onto the kitchen floor, shattering them into 1,000 pieces. She looks at him and asks, "You want overreacting? I haven't even started yet."
Think about this in terms of the architectural integrity of a building.
Okay.
She fought a brutal, multi-front war to protect the exterior of this structure. She absorbed immense psychological trauma, committed violent acts, lied to authorities, and manipulated the system to keep the institution intact.
She did everything to save them.
But the infrastructure she was protecting was already rotten from the inside. She successfully defended the facade, but the internal foundation collapsed violently right in front of her.
The scene ends with Luis physically twisting her wrists to stop her from breaking more plates, the children glaring at her over his shoulder as they retreat upstairs in fear, and Luis just sitting back down, drinking wine, pathetically claiming he was trying to end it with Isabel before she died.
Too little, too late.
The absolute hollowness of it all is staggering.
Which leaves us with a profound structural observation about the deep isolation of a successful operational manager in a crisis.
What's that?
Anna utilized ruthless business efficiency, counterintelligence, and psychological warfare to manage the disasters in her personal life. She neutralized Ryan. She built a firewall with June. She outmaneuvered a homicide detective.
She played the game perfectly.
She did everything right according to the cold, calculated playbook of crisis management.
But to what end? She deployed all those brilliant tactics, compromised her own morality, and risked prison to save an institution. Her marriage, her family unit, that Luis's confession proves was already a hollow shell.
A sunk cost.
It forces you to wonder. When you apply cold, calculated precision to survive the crises in your personal life, when you treat human beings as assets and liabilities, do you end up saving the structure at the cost of your own humanity?
Look at what she's become in the process of surviving. She lies to the police without hesitation. She threatens a young man's family without remorse. She suppresses all natural empathy for a dead pregnant woman in order to calculate her own forensic liabilities.
She had to adapt.
The crisis forced her to adapt, and her adaptation was to become entirely Machiavellian.
So the question you have to mull over as you analyze the fallout of Dr. Anna Sanchez is this. In this catastrophic convergence of threats, is she simply the tragic victim of a hostile narrative orchestrated by the narcissistic men around her? Or does her immense capacity for calculated deception, violence, and compartmentalization make her the most dangerous variable in the entire equation? Imagine looking at an X-ray of like a massive complex corporate structure, or honestly, even just the X-ray of a person's life, you know?
Right.
On the surface, everything looks totally functional. The outward presentation is just flawless. But then when you apply the right diagnostic lens, you suddenly see the hairline fractures.
Yeah, you see exactly where the load-bearing walls have been hollowed out.
Exactly. You see the systemic rot that's been quietly engineered by the exact people entrusted to protect the system. So today, our deep dive is examining a masterclass in exactly that kind of structural exposure.
It's a really intense topic. We are diving into the psychological and, well, the tactical mechanics of how a brilliant mind gets systematically dismantled by the people closest to her.
And more importantly, how she weaponizes her own trauma to execute this stunning retaliation. We are looking at the case of Anna, a brilliant academic, and the absolute destruction of the institutional and personal illusions surrounding her.
And it's just a fascinating case study because it perfectly illustrates the concept of information asymmetry.
Oh, absolutely.
Usually when we analyze a power dynamic, whether it's like a toxic corporate environment or an abusive domestic situation, the predator maintains control By controlling the flow of information.
Right, they isolate the target.
Exactly. But what we are about to unpack is the moment the target actually realizes the system is broken, abandons all conventional protocol, and completely inverts that information asymmetry.
Which brings us right to the situation with Anna and her colleague Jeff. Let's set the tactical board here. Jeff is, he's basically the nightmare colleague.
Oh, to put it mildly.
Yeah, he is actively destroying Anna's career and her psychological safety. I mean, he fabricated a sexual harassment claim against her. He coerced his own nephew into taking a non-consensual nude photo of Anna for blackmail.
It's just horrific escalation.
Right. And he vandalized her car. And then the most terrifying part, he chemically incapacitated her, spiked her drink at a professional conference in Chicago. Yeah. Now, normally, the protocol is clear for you as the listener, right? You are the whistleblower, you document everything, you secure your emails, you hire external counsel, and you take your meticulously organized file to human resources.
You rely on the institutional infrastructure to execute justice.
Right. That's what we're all taught to do.
But that assumes the institution is an impartial arbiter. And that is the fundamental flaw in the whistleblower playbook, you know?
Yeah, totally.
You're trusting the infrastructure, but the infrastructure is designed to protect itself, not you.
Exactly. And the ticking clock here is that Jeff is currently in the middle of this high-stakes panel interview to become the dean of the school.
Which changes everything.
It really does. If he gets that position, he literally becomes the institution. He becomes untouchable. So Anna recognizes that bringing a circumstantial he-said-she-said file to HR right now is just professional suicide.
It's a war of attrition she mathematically cannot win. Jeff operates with absolute terrifying impunity.
Yeah, he does.
His entire psychological profile is built on the premise that he is untouchable. He operates on the core belief of, it is your word against mine, and my word carries institutional weight.
So Anna has to pivot, right? From defensive victimhood to offensive tactical resource management.
Precisely.
Put yourself in Anna's shoes for a second. You realize the boardroom won't listen to your evidence. So what do? You don't take the evidence to the boardroom. You build a Trojan horse.
You smuggle the boardroom directly into the crime scene.
Yes. And the way she executes this sting operation is purely through social engineering. She doesn't use, like, high-tech hacking or anything. She uses the human elements around her as perfectly timed gears in a trap.
Well, social engineering at its core is really about exploiting human behavior to breach security protocols.
Right.
Anna looks at her environment and identifies her assets. And her first asset is her colleague, June.
So she needs Jeff isolated and off balance. She has June approach Jeff at, I think it's 1:45 p.m. with false scheduling information. June simply tells him his massive panel interview has been delayed by 30 minutes.
It seems like a minor detail, but tactically, it is brilliant. It creates a highly controlled window.
Oh, completely.
Jeff is now isolated in his office. He's frustrated. His adrenaline is spiking because of the impending interview, and his guard is entirely down. He's just in a holding pattern.
Which brings in the second asset, Steve, the audiovisual technician. Now, Anna previously did Steve a solid, right?
Did, yeah.
When a major presentation went sideways a while back, she could have totally thrown him under the bus, but she took the blame herself. She banked that goodwill, and now she calls in the favor.
It's all about leveraging those relationships.
Exactly. Under the guise of repairing a phone line, June lets Steve into Jeff's office while Jeff is briefly out. And Steve does something critical. He sets up Anna's smartphone, which she later places innocuously on a shelf, to stream a live audiovisual feed.
And where's that feed going? It is streaming directly to the massive screen in the executive administration room?
Wait, the exact room where the panel is waiting?
The exact room. The panel of 4 committee members, along with the current dean, are sitting there waiting for Jeff's supposedly delayed interview.
This is where I am just floored by the sheer audacity of her plan. So the trap is set. Anna walks into Jeff's office. She confronts him.
Right.
She tells him she checked with HR and discovered there's no actual sexual harassment complaint on file against her. He just made it up. Now, I would expect a cornered colleague to deny, deflect, or immediately kick her out of his office.
Sure, that would be the standard reaction.
But he doesn't, does he?
No, and that is where Anna's understanding of his psychological profile becomes her ultimate weapon. Jeff's tragic flaw is his profound narcissism and hubris.
Right.
When Anna confronts him, he instantly drops the mask. Why? Because he believes they are entirely alone. And a narcissist simply cannot resist the urge to brag about how thoroughly they have outsmarted you.
He literally smirks. He leans back in his chair, hands behind his head. He just wants to revel in his superiority.
Exactly. And she doesn't yell, she doesn't get aggressive, she just calmly feeds him the rope.
Wow.
She creates a highly controlled environment and intentionally triggers his ego. She refuses to raise her voice, which neutralizes his ability to dismiss her as, hysterical or unhinged.
Yep.
She forces him to engage on the facts.
So she brings up the conference in Chicago. She looks at him and says, I didn't drink that much that night. I think you spiked my drink.
Yeah.
And this is the moment. He doesn't deny it. What does he actually say to her here?
With just this chilling casualness, he replies, hey, I just made it easier for you. You want to play, but you don't want the guilt. So I gave you a little nudge. I should have upped the dose.
I should have upped the dose. Oh, my God. It makes my skin crawl just thinking about it.
It really should. That specific phrase is the pivot point of the entire narrative. In 7 words, he shifts the interaction from a murky, deniable workplace grievance into a confirmed, premeditated criminal confession.
Yeah, he views chemical incapacitation, which is a felony, by the way, as a little nudge.
Exactly. He feels completely insulated from consequences.
He even goes on to explicitly justify it. He tells her there are consequences for women like you. He proudly admits to vandalizing her car. And then he leans back and utters his favorite magic words.
All of it is your word against mine.
Yes, all of it is your word against mine. And at that exact, precise second, the door opens.
The timing is just devastating.
It's the current dean. It's the committee members. And it's Steve, the AV guy, standing in the back giving Anna a thumbs up.
Amazing.
The dean is beet red, absolutely furious, and he yells, "You're fired, Jeffrey! Effective immediately!" They've literally been sitting in the boardroom watching his entire confession broadcast live on a 50-inch screen.
The information asymmetry that Jeff relied on for his entire reign of terror is instantaneously inverted.
Completely flipped.
He believed he was the only one holding the cards. He believed the closed door protected him. But Anna understood that to destroy a narcissist, you don't fight their lies. You broadcast their truth.
Right.
His own arrogance was the direct mechanism of his undoing.
Now, I have to say, while the payoff is incredibly satisfying, wasn't this maneuver unbelievably reckless?
Oh, highly reckless.
Right. Let's look at the points of failure here. What if Steve, the AV guy, got cold feet? What if Jeff noticed a random phone sitting on his shelf?
Or what if he just kept his mouth shut?
Exactly. If Jeff simply decided to tell her to leave, Anna plays her only hand, reveals to her abuser that she knows everything, and loses catastrophically. She essentially bet her entire professional and personal life on a Wi-Fi connection and a live broadcast working flawlessly.
You are absolutely right. It was a massive, almost absurd gamble. But you have to view this through the psychological lens of a cornered individual.
Okay, unpack that.
Anna had reached a critical realization. The institutional safeguards were just illusions. When you are operating entirely outside the protection of the system, conventional risk management basically ceases to apply.
Right, because the baseline is already awful.
Exactly. You take highly asymmetric risks because the baseline scenario, Jeff becoming dean and having the institutional authority to destroy her at will, is already an unacceptable outcome.
It's the logic of a desperation play, and amazingly, the trap snaps shut perfectly. Jeff goes from a smirking predator to this bewildered child in seconds.
Yeah, he's just stunned.
He looks like he's about to cry, asking why, as if he is suddenly the victim of an unfair prank. The dean informs him that they are referring the matter to the police immediately, and right on cue, June pops her head into the office and says the police are here.
A perfectly orchestrated climax to a sting operation.
Truly. Anna is riding the ultimate adrenaline high. She's literally checking off Jeff's crimes on her fingers: assault, unauthorized intimate photos, spiking drinks, vandalism.
She's totally in the zone.
She is practically directing traffic, ready for the officers to walk in and slap the cuffs on him. But then June tugs at her sleeve. June's face is completely drained of color.
Right.
She looks terrified, mouths the word sorry, and delivers a paradigm-shifting revelation.
They're here for you.
Oh, man. The police are not there for Jeff. They are there for Anna. She turns around, the adrenaline crashing out of her system, and finds herself face-to-face with Detective Jones. In a fraction of a second, all the tactical power she just seized vaporizes.
It is a brutal psychological whiplash. She transitions instantly from being the brilliant architect of a sting operation to being the prime target of a homicide investigation.
Because Isabel Wilcox is dead.
Yes.
She was pushed down a flight of stairs, and suddenly Anna, the triumphant whistleblower, is being led away. Her head is bowed, her face is flushed with humiliation as she's put into the back of an unmarked police sedan.
The sensory details really ground you in how fast she loses control there.
Oh, absolutely. The car smells of stale cigarettes and cheap coffee. She's taken to an interrogation room.
Yeah.
And this is where we have to shift our diagnostic lens. Because for all her brilliance with Jeff, Anna exhibits a catastrophic failure in crisis management here.
What is truly fascinating here is the immediate psychological regression. In Jeff's office, she was the predator. She was cold, calculating, and in total control of the environment. But the moment she crosses the threshold of the police precinct, she instantly reverts to a compliant, desperate-to-please mentality.
She just wants to be a good girl.
Exactly. She internalizes this narrative that she is a team player, that she is just there to, quote, help the authorities clear up a misunderstanding.
Which leads to the single most destructive decision anyone can make in a police station. Detectives Jones and Dalloway sit her down and ask her clearly if she wants a lawyer present. And she says no.
Yeah, it's painful to watch.
She actively waves away her right to counsel. She actually rationalizes this internally, thinking if I ask for a lawyer, I'll look guilty. She remembers Detective Jones saying earlier she'd be out of there in no time, and she buys into it completely.
This is a textbook vulnerability, and it relies heavily on how law enforcement leverages information asymmetry during an interrogation.
Let's really break that down, because I think a lot of listeners might wonder why innocent, or at least partially innocent people fall into this exact trap.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In an interrogation, the detectives hold all the empirical data. They're the ones at the X-ray, as you put it earlier.
Right.
They have the CCTV footage, they have the timeline data from cell towers, they have forensic evidence of witness statements, but they do not show their hand.
Not at first, anyway.
Right. They selectively withhold this data to allow the suspect to establish a baseline narrative. Then, they slowly introduce contradicting facts, forcing the suspect to continually revise their story in real time.
Which is a disaster if you're unrepresented.
Exactly. By doing this without a lawyer present, the suspect is effectively destroying their own credibility on the record.
It is intensely frustrating to watch her do this. I mean, why on earth would you sit in a room with homicide detectives without legal counsel, especially when you know you've been lying about certain details?
It defies logic.
Right. I look at this scenario like a CEO walking into a hostile SEC deposition. The CEO fully knows there are massive irregularities in the corporate accounting, but they decide to leave the general counsel at the office because they honestly believe they can just charm the federal regulators and explain it away.
It's a great analogy.
It's corporate suicide, and what Anna is doing is legal suicide.
It comes down to her assumption that her narrative is a shield. She views herself as the wronged wife.
Yeah.
She believes it because her intent was merely to have a polite, albeit tense, conversation with her husband's mistress. The police will naturally view her through that same empathetic lens.
But they don't care about that.
Not at all. She fundamentally fails to realize that the police do not care about her emotional narrative.
Yeah.
They care about the dead body at the bottom of the stairs, and she is the prime suspect.
And the physical environment of the interrogation room is designed to break that narrative down. It is a psychological pressure cooker. Anna is so stressed her motor functions are actually failing.
Yeah, the water cup scene.
Yes. She asks for water, and Detective Dalloway hands her one of those flimsy white plastic cups. Anna tries to take a drink, and her hands are shaking so badly the water just dribbles down her chin.
It's so visceral.
Meanwhile, Detective Jones is just sitting across from her, leaning back, casually chewing on the top of a dirty, chewed-up pen. Anna is internally obsessing over the bacteria on his pen because her mind is fracturing under the stress. She can't process the danger she's in, so she fixates on the pen.
Right, the detectives use the environment, and then they deploy a tactic known as empathetic mirroring.
Ooh, tell me about that.
So Anna admits she went to see Isabel. She admits they had an argument. And Detective Dalloway, the female detective who has been sitting quietly in the corner, playing the passive observer, suddenly leans forward and speaks up.
Right.
She says, if my husband was cheating on me, I wouldn't want anybody to know about it.
Put yourself in that room. You're terrified, you're exhausted, and suddenly an authority figure validates your deepest pain. Anna feels this massive, overwhelming wave of relief. She looks at Dalloway and says, right, exactly.
And Jones immediately capitalizes on that opening. He jumps right in, saying, we've all been there. I don't blame you for wanting to have it out with her.
It's so manipulative.
It is highly calculated. They are creating a false sense of alliance.
Yeah.
By normalizing her rage, they are making her comfortable enough to admit to violence.
Wow.
They are implicitly telling her, your actions were reasonable, expected even. Just tell us what happened, we understand.
And it works flawlessly. Because once they have her trusting them, they start tightening the screws, the empathetic mirroring stops, and the empirical data drops.
Yep, the trap springs.
They ask about her timeline. Anna casually says she only stayed at Isabel's for a little while. Jones stops chewing his pen and mentions very casually that they have CCTV footage tracking her car leaving the neighborhood at 8 minutes past 10.
Which exposes a nearly 2-hour gap in her timeline.
Exactly. Every lie she previously told, believing she was smarter than the system, is now a brick in the wall they are building around her.
It's a terrifying realization.
Then they ask about a severe welt on her hand. Earlier, she lied and claimed she got it from gardening. Jones pulls out a photograph of Isabel. In the photo, Isabel is wearing a very specific, expensive necklace.
And this is where the physical evidence corners her.
Right. Jones asks if Anna knew her husband, Luis, had gifted this necklace to Isabel. Anna tries to play dumb, but Jones drops the next piece of empirical data. They know she recently visited the jewelry store with Luis's receipt, attempting to claim the necklace was hers.
The maze is closing in. She is trapped by her own conflicting statements.
Her defenses completely collapse. She breaks down and admits that she knocked over a vase in anger. She admits that as Isabel was taunting her, arrogantly playing with the necklace Luis bought her, Anna lost control.
Yeah.
She physically lunged at Isabel, grabbed the necklace, and violently yanked it off her neck. The force of the chain snapping is what caused the welt on her hand.
Let's summarize what she has just done here. Without a lawyer present, she has just confessed to a physical altercation, a direct assault, at the exact scene of a murder with the murder victim on the very night the murder took place.
It is a devastating self-incrimination, and the detectives immediately go for the kill. They lean in and ask her directly, did you push her down the stairs? Did you follow her up the stairs?
They push for the ultimate confession.
The blood is roaring in Anna's ears. She is absolutely shattered. They finally terminate the interview at 4:32 p.m. They let her go, but with the ominous warning not to leave the state.
Which means they're just building the final pieces of the case.
Right. She barely escapes that room. She is completely numb, traumatized, and deeply aware she might be arrested for murder at any moment.
Yeah.
And who does she call for support? Luis, her husband, the very man whose infidelity caused this entire nightmare.
It really highlights the tragedy of her conditioning, you know.
How so?
Despite everything, she is still desperately clinging to the illusion of her marriage as a safe harbor. She needs Luis to validate her reality. She needs him to play the role of the protector, to tell her they will hire the best defense attorneys and that they will survive this together.
But that reliance on Luis, that assumption of a safe harbor, is about to be utterly obliterated, because when she goes seeking comfort, she stumbles upon a trail of forensic evidence that rewrites her entire existence.
This is the critical juncture.
Yeah.
The narrative shifts from a defensive posture against external threats like the police or the Jetralanta to the horrifying realization that the rot is actually inside the house.
Yes.
The X-ray she thought she was looking at was a complete fabrication.
Let's trace how this facade crumbles, because the pacing of the revelations is relentless. Before she can reach Luis, Anna stops to visit her friend, June. She expects June to offer a shoulder to cry on after the brutal interrogation.
Gotcha.
But as soon as Anna walks in, she realizes June is terrified of her. June physically backs away. She won't even invite Anna to sit down. And why? Because June found Isabel's silver necklace, the very one Anna ripped off the victim's neck, hidden inside June's own handbag.
Now, we know Anna hid it there in a blind panic during a previous interaction, fully intending to tell June, but forgetting amidst the escalating chaos.
Right, but June doesn't know that.
Exactly. Put yourself in June's perspective. Your friend is suddenly the prime suspect in a homicide, and you find the dead woman's jewelry secreted away in your belongings. From June's viewpoint, Anna is actively planting physical evidence to frame her for the murder.
It's a devastating loss of her only remaining ally. Anna is cast out. But as she is leaving June's house, something catches her eye. It's a plant, a hyacinth that June had returned to her.
Yeah.
Anna picks it up, and underneath the pot, she finds the original florist delivery card. She reads it. It says, "Purple Aegianthus and daisies."
Which is incredibly significant. That is the exact specific floral arrangement Anna firmly believed her estranged mother had sent her to celebrate a recent event.
Anna looks closer at the note. It has the address of the university and a date. And in that moment, the bottom drops out of her stomach. She realizes with sickening clarity that her mother never sent those flowers.
Luis faked the delivery.
Yes, He bought them, wrote the card, and sent them to her, pretending to be her estranged mother extending an olive branch.
We really need to pause and analyze the sheer magnitude of this psychological gaslighting.
Please do.
Luis hasn't just been lying about having affairs. He has been actively curating Anna's emotional reality. He is pulling the strings on her deepest familial traumas, artificially orchestrating moments of hope and rejection to keep her completely isolated, destabilized, and utterly dependent on him as her only source of truth.
Anna's driven half mad by confusion and just a building primal rage. She gets in her car, sobbing hysterically, and calls Louis. He plays dumb, using his usual soothing, condescending tone.
Of course he does.
So she hangs up and drives directly to his art studio. She lets herself in, and sitting right there, taking up the center of the room, is Luis's magnum opus. It's a giant, acclaimed sculpture called The Nest.
The symbolism here is thick, almost suffocating. The nest was presented to the world and to Anna as a physical representation of their marriage, their home, their shared life.
Right.
But Anna recently realized that when Luis was passionately describing the inspiration for this sculpture at an art opening, he wasn't talking about her. He was actually thinking of Isabel.
The sculpture is a literal monument to his lies. So Anna snaps. She finds a heavy metal rod in the studio. She raises it over her head, screaming, and absolutely destroys the sculpture.
It's a huge release of tension.
She strikes the metal framework over and over again. The tension cables snap. The entire structure crashes down. The hollow paper eggs that were nestled inside roll out onto the floor, and she smashes them too.
Yeah.
She destroys the intricate faces of the creatures inside them. It is a visceral, violent purge of all the pain, betrayal, and humiliation she has endured.
And by physically shattering the facade of the nest, this hollow monument to his genius and their supposed love, she literally cracks open the hidden truth.
How so?
Because when we look closely at those eggs, we see they aren't just made of papier-mâché. The artist used recycled documents to build them. And in his supreme arrogance, Luis used the actual physical evidence of his crimes to build the monument to his ego.
Oh, wow. So Anna drops the metal rod. She is exhausted, sitting on the floor amidst the wreckage of her marriage, and she notices words on the torn paper of the smashed eggs.
Yeah.
She reaches out and smooths a piece flat. It is a residential purchase agreement from 2006. It's for the house she grew up in back in Youngstown.
The very house she explicitly thought her mother had sold years ago.
Exactly. But when she looks closely at the seller's signature on the document, it's not her mother's name, it's hers. Anna is listed as the legal seller.
If we apply the lens of forensic auditing to this moment, we are witnessing the exposure of a massive long-term financial fraud.
It's unbelievable.
Luis forged a power of attorney. He forged her signature on real estate documents. He illegally sold her inheritance out from under her, and he kept the capital, placing it in a term deposit account that he completely controlled.
Wait, so Luis isn't just a cheating husband. He is running a domestic version of a corporate accounting scandal.
Basically, yeah.
He essentially cooked the books of their entire marriage. He's keeping a sanitized fictional ledger for Anna to look at while maintaining a factual criminal ledger hidden away in his studio.
It's sociopathic.
But this raises a massive question. How does a highly intelligent academic, a senior lecturer in mathematics, whose entire career is based on detail and logic, fail to notice that she legally sold a house in 2006? I mean, how do you miss a real estate transaction in your own name?
It is a critical question, and the answer lies in a psychological concept known as betrayal blindness.
Betrayal blindness.
Yeah, it's a term coined by psychologist Jennifer Freed. When an individual is highly dependent on someone else for their core survival or emotional stability, their mind will actively filter out glaring discrepancies that threaten that relationship. Highly intelligent people fall victim to this constantly.
So her brain essentially refused to see the X-ray.
Precisely. Abusers who engage in profound financial control rarely do it through overt aggression. They weaponize trust.
Right, they act like they're helping.
Yes. They take on the burden of managing the paperwork, presenting it as an act of profound love and service. They say, you focus on your brilliant academic work, babe. Let me handle the boring taxes and the legal filings.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Over the span of a decade, the victim becomes entirely detached from their own financial footprint. Add to that the trauma of Anna's childhood, which made her deeply eager to accept a loving, caretaking partner, and you have the perfect environment for this kind of parasitic fraud to thrive undetected.
And the cache of horrors inside the shattered sculpture doesn't stop at financial fraud. As Anna is scrambling through the debris on her hands and knees, the blood roaring in her ears, she finds a piece of a death certificate.
Yeah.
She reads the name. It's her mother's. It states her mother died from an accidental fall. The date on the certificate is from 16 years ago.
Her mother has been dead for 16 years.
It's mind-blowing.
Meaning every single interaction, every perceived slight, every rejected phone call, every bouquet of flowers over the last decade and a half was a complete psychotic fabrication orchestrated entirely by Luis. He controlled her emotional ties to a ghost to ensure she never sought outside support.
It is utterly terrifying. Then Anna spots something glinting under the couch. She uses the metal rod to drag it out. It's a small plastic tube with a faded yellow and white sticker. It's an EpiPen.
But not just any EpiPen.
No, specifically an older model EpiPen that belonged to a woman named Monica. Monica was another woman in their orbit who died under highly suspicious circumstances years ago. And right next to the EpiPen, sliding out from the dust, is Isabel's silver NYU class ring.
The physical, undeniable evidence of serial murder, hidden in plain sight, embedded inside the very art that society lauded him for.
Armed with this tangible proof of Luis's financial fraud, psychological torture, and serial murders, the entire paradigm of the narrative instantly shifts.
It really does.
We are no longer in a psychological domestic thriller. We are thrust into a physical, visceral fight for survival. Because as Anna puts the pieces together, she realizes Luis isn't at the studio. Earlier that day, she had told him she was spending the afternoon with June.
And we have to remember what Luis said to her on the phone. I'll take care of everything.
She desperately pulls out her phone and calls June, leaving a frantic, terrified voicemail. If Luis comes over to your house, do not answer the door. Pretend you're not there. Just hide.
She knows exactly what he's capable of now.
She races to her car and drives to June's house like a maniac, almost crashing twice in her panic. She runs up the driveway, bursts inside, and finds Luis already there.
And this leads us to the ultimate confrontation, where we see Luis's psychology stripped of all pretense.
Luis is standing in June's house, and he is completely, terrifyingly calm. He has dropped the loving husband mask entirely. He looks at Anna and tells her, quietly, I've come to take care of June. You have to trust me, Anna.
Let's analyze Luis's deeply distorted worldview here.
Please.
In Luis's psychological framework, people do not possess inherent value, autonomy, or humanity. They are categorized strictly as items on a balance sheet, assets or liabilities.
That's so cold.
It is. Anna is his primary asset. She provides the lifestyle, the financial backing, the intellectual prestige, and the perfect cover of normalcy. Everyone else, Isabel, Monica, her mother, and now June, are simply liabilities.
And what happens when a liability threatens the core asset?
You eliminate the liability, without a hesitation, without remorse. It is chillingly pragmatic sociopathy disguised as protective love.
Anna is shaking. She begs him not to hurt June. She demands to know what he did to Isabel. And Luis confesses, but the way he does it is just mind-bending.
Yeah, the framing is wild.
He frames the murder as if he is the victim of unfortunate circumstances. He says, I made a mistake. I could never be with someone like Isabel. Women like that, they're too bright, too shiny, too perfect.
He's rationalizing it to himself.
Exactly. He explains that Isabel was pregnant and was going to tell everyone, ruining his life with Anna. He looks at Anna, genuinely expecting sympathy, and says, I couldn't let her do that to us. You see that, babe, don't you?
This is his final, most insidious manipulation tactic. Projection. He wants to enforce complicity.
Right.
He physically pulls her down to her knees, holds her hands tightly, and looks deeply into her eyes. He tells her, we're the same, you and me. You're made of dark waters like me.
Wow.
He is banking on her historical loyalty and the trauma bond he spent years forging to convince her that they operate in a shared moral vacuum, a place where murder is just aggressive risk management for their marriage.
He actually says the words, you and me, we would do anything for each other. We'd kill for each other. Now, as gripping as this is, I have to point out the extreme tactical error Anna makes in this sequence.
Oh, definitely.
It goes back to that corporate mindset we discussed. You know you're dealing with a serial killer. You literally just found the trophies from his victims. Why on earth do you drive to June's house yourself instead of calling 911 from the studio and sending a SWAT team?
It is the ultimate tragic manifestation of the fixer mentality.
Yes. It's exactly like a rogue middle manager discovering a massive toxic chemical spill at the corporate plant, and instead of calling the EPA and evacuating the town, they grab a roll of paper towels and try to mop it up themselves to protect the company.
That's exactly it.
Anna has been conditioned for so long to manage Louis, to protect their private world from public scrutiny, that she still feels a distorted, compulsive responsibility to handle him herself. And that flawed risk assessment almost costs her her life.
Because the fight gets completely out of control.
It does. She looks at him, rejecting the projection. She tells him they are not the same, and the physical fight breaks out. It is chaotic, brutal, and utterly devoid of the calculated elegance of her sting operation against Jeff.
It's just raw violence.
Louis attacks her. He pulls her hair, slams her head violently against the hardwood floor. They end up grappling, tearing through June's bedroom. Anna is blinded by pain, clawing desperately at the bedside table. She pulls down lamps, books, searching for anything until her hand finds it. Small, hard, metallic. June's gun.
The physical struggle perfectly mirrors the psychological one. It is messy, desperate, and entirely stripped of the illusions they lived under. It is raw survival.
She kicks him in the face with everything she has, breaking his nose. She scrambles to her feet, holding the gun. Both of her hands are shaking violently. Louis stops. He drops his arms.
This part is so haunting.
Blood is pouring from his broken nose, but incredibly he smiles. He shakes his head slowly, adopting that patronizing tone one last time and says, "No, don't." Then he lunges, grabbing for her face. Anna pulls the trigger. The gun goes off. There is a sharp rip through the air, followed by a high-pitched whistle.
The contrast in his demeanor in his final moments is what truly stays with you. It perfectly encapsulates the horror of their dynamic.
It is haunting. The bullet hits him directly in the chest. He looks down at the blood blooming on his shirt. Then he looks back up at Anna. He smiles sweetly.
Yeah.
His eyes actually fill with tears, and as he collapses, he silently mouths the words, "I love you." And Anna falls to the floor with him. She holds his bleeding body tight, rocking him, screaming over and over, "I'm obsessed with you."
It is the horrific culmination of a completely toxic and meshed trauma bond.
Absolutely.
Even as she kills him in justified self-defense to save her friend's life, she cannot instantly sever the emotional conditioning he spent decades instilling in her. The logical mind knows he is a monster, but the conditioned heart still reacts to the loss of its primary attachment figure.
So, Louis is dead. The immediate physical threat to her life is permanently neutralized. In the aftermath, the police arrive, the forensic evidence in the studio is analyzed, and Anna is eventually cleared of Isabel's murder by the district attorney.
The truth is finally out.
It is, but even with the physical danger gone, there is still one massive, unresolved discrepancy in her life. Her professional and intellectual reality is still fractured.
And this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. We jump forward in time to spring break. The campus is quiet. The ornamental pear trees are blooming. The dust of the criminal investigation has finally settled.
Anna is in her office at Locke-Wideman University, packing up her books. She is moving on, trying to rebuild. Her friend June stops by, bringing cookies. They have a quiet, normal chat about their kids and their ongoing recovery from the trauma.
A brief moment of normalcy.
Yeah, but as June is leaving, she points out a battered UPS mid-size box sitting in the corner that arrived for Anna a week ago.
Inside that box is an envelope from a man named Vernon Tuckey. Listeners might remember that name from the periphery of Anna's academic history. Vernon was the former roommate of Alex.
We need to remind everyone who Alex is, because he represents the core of her professional trauma. Alex is the brilliant former colleague who supposedly solved the famous Pentystone math conjecture.
Right, a massive deal.
It was the mathematical breakthrough of the decade. He won the massive Forrester Foundation Prize for it. Tragically, Alex died shortly after, leaving Anna to take a secondary supporting credit because she supposedly just helped him verify his math at the very end.
This narrative that she was merely a helpful assistant to a true male genius is the foundational myth of her current academic career. It is the reason she settles for a senior lecturer position rather than demanding a full professorship.
Anna opens the cardboard box. Inside are 12 plain wire-bound notebooks. They are old, the pages are discolored, and they smell musty. And that smell acts as an immediate visceral sensory trigger.
It transports her completely.
It instantly transports her back to her childhood bedroom. She pulls out the first notebook, opens the cover, and the entire room seems to tilt. Written on the first page, in her own childish handwriting, is her name, Anna Miller.
What we're looking at here is the ultimate devastating case of intellectual property theft, wrapped tightly in profound imposter syndrome and childhood trauma.
She frantically flips through the notebooks. Page after page after page of incredibly complex mathematical equations. It is the entirety of the Pentystone conjecture, written out in her dense, specific handwriting.
And the visual details are heartbreaking.
They really are. In the margins of these genius-level equations are doodles of little flowers. There were little hearts drawn next to her sister Hope's name, and slashing across the pages are the harsh diagonal red pen marks of her mother grading the work.
We have to understand the role of her mother in this. Her mother persistently and ruthlessly abused her emotionally. Her mother looked at this groundbreaking, genius-level mathematical work produced by her own child, slashed a red pen across it, and dismissively said, "No, Anna, that's not right. Try again." Her mother systematically conditioned Anna to literally not recognize her own brilliance.
The psychological block her mother installed was so absolute, so structurally sound, that when Alex later brought these very sequences to Anna at the university years later, she only recognized them as his brilliant work, not her own.
It's tragic.
She looked at her own equations and assumed she was just proofreading for a superior mind.
But how did Alex acquire them?
Well, Anna remembers her mother having a yard sale right before Anna left for college. Anna looks at the side of the battered cardboard box, and there, written in faded blue marker, are the words, $2 the lot.
The literal price of her genius. Alex bought her lifelong intellectual property, the work of a generation, for $2 at a yard sale.
I look at this scenario like a massive tech giant stumbling upon revolutionary open source code written by some brilliant, isolated teenager in a basement. The tech corporation steals it, patents it under their own corporate banner, gets all the venture capital funding and the magazine covers.
Right.
And then, when they hit a final, complex bug they can't quite fix, they hire that exact same teenager as an unpaid intern to fix their own code for them.
That is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Alex didn't just meet her by chance. He sought her out specifically. He enrolled at Locke Wideman University because he knew she was the original author, and he knew she possessed the missing piece to the puzzle he couldn't solve.
It's so calculated.
He didn't just steal her data. He stole her entire intellectual identity. And he exploited her deeply ingrained trauma to ensure she would never have the confidence to claim it for herself.
But I want to ask you about the psychology of this moment. Is it possible that, deep down in her subconscious, Anna always knew it was hers?
Oh,
Was the trauma block just too heavy to lift until she was finally free of the controlling forces in her life? Did the mental dam only break because her mother was dead, Lewis was dead, and Alex was dead?
absolutely. The human mind is incredibly adept at compartmentalizing trauma to ensure daily survival.
Yeah.
While she was under the psychological thumb of her mother, and later the total control of Lewis, acknowledging her own profound brilliance would have been actively dangerous.
Right. It would have threatened the status quo.
Would have challenged their control over her, which would have provoked abuse. Her mind hid the truth to protect her. Once those threats were permanently removed, the cognitive dissonance could finally resolve. The X-ray is clear. She can finally look at the math and see her own reflection.
And what she does next is so quietly, powerfully triumphant. She looks at the notebooks and sees that she had come right to the edge of the final solution back when she was just a girl. She turns to the blank pages at the back of the 12th notebook. She grabs a pen, and without having to consult a single textbook, without needing a calculator or a computer, she writes down the final piece of the proof.
She flawlessly completes the work of her childhood. She bridges the gap between the traumatized girl and the brilliant woman.
She writes a short, elegant letter to the Forrester Foundation. She encloses the 12 notebooks as her undeniable supporting documentation, proving her authorship of the conjecture, and she signs the letter, Dr. Anna Sanchez, née Miller.
Wow.
She reclaims her intellectual property, she reclaims her prize, and most importantly, she reclaims her identity.
It is a phenomenal resolution to a diagnostic study of a woman who was systematically dismantled by the people closest to her. She finally rebuilds her own reality, not from the lies they fed her, but from her original source code.
Which brings us back to that X-ray machine we talked about at the very beginning of this deep dive. For so long, Anna was looking at the X-rays of her life, her marriage, her mother's love, her academic career, and she was letting predators tell her where the fractures were.
Exactly.
She let Luis tell her the financial and emotional ledger was clean. She let her mother tell her the math was wrong. She let Alex tell her the genius was his. But the raw data, the truth, was there the whole time. Think about the concept of self-authorship. Anna spent her entire life believing she was a fraud, a supporting character in Jeff's department, a liability in Luis's marriage, and an assistant to Alex's genius. But the math proves she was the architect all along. What truth about your own capabilities have you accepted purely because someone else graded your work incorrectly years ago?